generation, you never know. In a few generations, things might be better, but that was never the plan. And so I think we have finally arrived. The history of the United States, whoops. The history of the United States, for me, is an equation. It's genocide plus stealing people from other countries to build your infrastructure, plus the Constitution and amendments, plus wars, domestic and foreign, plus the Civil War, the Industrial Revolution, plus every failed civil rights movement, every weird Supreme Court decision that was eventually reversed. And so, like Brown v. Board of Education righted the wrongs of the past, but then you had Obergefell v. Hodges, which made marriage equality the law of the land. We'll see how long that lasts before it gets tossed back to the states. And so, where's the equal sign? I think we have finally arrived at the other side of the equal sign. Here we are, where people who are constitutionally illiterate are now members of the Senate and Congress. And I guarantee you, the last president, who I will be affectionately calling P011-35809 for the rest of my life. I guarantee you, he never read the Constitution from beginning to end. I've read it I don't know how many damn times. I'm not saying I'm a scholar, I'm just saying I have an interest to try to understand how the damn thing works. And so that's why we are where we are right now. And some people might say, George Washington and John Adams would be rolling in their graves. May I posit that I disagree with that vigorously. I think they would go like, finally, you got it right. This is exactly what we wanted. White people in charge, money constantly going to the top, and everyone else has to get to pound the proverbial sand. And I think that's kind of sort of where we are now. Gee, Henry, what a bummer. No, because it's temporary. Because here's what's going to happen. Things are going to change. Maybe not in my lifetime, because just like Dick Cheney and Joe Biden, I'm old, and I'll be dead by this time next year. And so it's not going to be some magic president. It's not going to be some new law where we're like, let's do that. It's going to be just down to generational change. And while you might see some change happening that is favorable to you, I think it's even more inspiring to look at the resistance. Why would I want to look at angry men, pasty ancient white men in the Senate who don't know what an ovary is and try to impose their weird ideas on a woman's reproductive health rights? Rejoice in the resistance, because this is like 2 or 3 generations of people who were raised with being hit on the head with sticks, growing old. It's like the bug that you hit with the bug spray in your kitchen, and the last 7 seconds of its life, the legs kick vigorously, and then it dies. You are seeing the legs kicking vigorously. And in your lifetime, the demographic of this country is going to change. These bastards are a lot of things. Stupid is not one of them. And they know this, and they're trying to put all of their evil things in place, so when they die, you'll still be under this oppression. And that is why I beg young people to vote, to wrest power away from old people, and don't let these people make it country for you. That you're going to die and not have to deal with it, that you will have to endure for multiple centuries. And so that's why I was against Brexit. Who got Brexit through England? Pensioners, because they actually do go and vote. And young people are getting screwed by that, or too busy working for a living, or unconcerned. And so I think it's really time to be concerned. It's also a time to, I think, be more tolerant and more patient with your fellow Americans. It's very trying, but and so I'm probably the only person in this building who feels bad for the members of the Proud Boys who are now serving multiple decade sentences in prison. Henry, why would you be not feeling great about those guys going to prison? Because I think they're idiots who bought into some stupid ideology and they have thrown their 30s and 40s away for nothing. I think it's a waste of life. Well, then let them out. No. They broke the law, they gotta go. But what a dumb thing to go do 22 years for. And let's just pretend some of you are Proud Boys sympathetic, or maybe members of the Proud Boys. I don't know what it is with you guys, but I don't take you seriously. You might kick your ass, you take me seriously. Any 11-year-old can kick my ass. I'm 62 years of age. I'll be dead in 7 months. Like, kicking my ass will take your 11-year-old nephew 2 nanoseconds. And like, that's not an accomplishment whatsoever. But why do I not take any of those groups seriously? First off, the Proud Boy guys all dress in uniform. And like, the choice of clothes, like some eyes-on shirt with a baseball cap, I'm dangerous. Not to me. You look utterly ridiculous to me. What about my tactical vest? That's mail order, man. I've checked. You could buy that on Amazon. So shut up. But I got an AR-15 style rifle. Yeah, you can trip over one on the sidewalk right now. They'll fairly throw one at you at a Denny's with your Grand Slam omelet. I mean, they're just giving those things away. Like, I shoot at the range all the time. Shooting at a piece of paper, pal, is probably nothing like shooting at a living, breathing human being who might shoot back. Like, and I bet you still can't, no matter how many tutorials you took online, break the weapon down, clean it, lubricate it, and put it back together again. You can just shoot at pieces of paper. So, the next time you go trundling in your 4XL tactical vest with multiple magazines against your huge man gut to Michigan to try to kidnap the governor again, be careful. Because you've been shooting at paper and going to gay rallies and punching out people who throw frisbees and read books. But finally, people are going to stand up to you, and that so far has never happened. And imagine one of those like militia types, the last few seconds of his life will be like hoisting up his gun, looking at a line of obvious homosexual, scientifically inclined book readers, and like, well, here goes nothing. And all of those people raise up their weapon, and the last thing he sees is like what seems to him an obvious lesbian woman pick up an AR-15 style rifle and with no hesitation whatsoever deploy a .223 round, which is like a marvel in physics. It's a small bit of mass that is built to not fragment or flatten or distort, going at a high rate of speed, more likely to go through body armor. And so that .223 goes expertly right below the magazines. It goes through the tactical vest in a fraction of a second. You should have spent more money and got ceramic-plated body armor. The bullet will now do what it's supposed to do. It's going to go into Big Boy's body and start a rolling and a tumbling like a lethal pinball, and your rib cage is the pinball machine's walls and bridges. And so it's going to go banging and tumbling, turning your liver into a sic semper tyrannis pate. And after about a minute of knocking around, that's what Booth said, yelled after he shot Lincoln and jumped over the balcony and landed on the stage of Ford's Theater and limped up the alley to his horse. It basically means thus always to tyrants. I thought that was funny anyway. The bullet will go rolling and tumbling and finally explode right through your arm, going through your tattoo of like, I love God in America, and you'll bleed out like death by lesbian, and it'll be humiliating and absolutely preventable. You shouldn't have shown up. And so, I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but if any of you were connected with storming the Capitol a couple of years ago, I don't take you seriously, because you relied on your white privilege, and you knew if you showed up with bear spray and a flagpole, no, you're not going to get shot because you're white. But if you showed up with guns, you would have been annihilated immediately, because you would have gone up against trained killers who get free bullets, and if they shoot you, they don't go to jail. And that's why I never took any of those people seriously. And I wish they could all get let out of jail, put in school, and made to be better, and to see the wrong of their ways. Can you flip someone like that and make them see the light? I don't know. I don't have time. I'm a busy man. And so thank you for allowing me to get the top of the head of that particular thing of beer off my mind. So here's something else. I moved a couple of years ago from Los Angeles, California to Nashville, Tennessee. I went from a filthy, crime-ridden, where you stick to every flat surface city, to a state that looks like it's red as a lobster dropped in boiling water. And so now when I drive my little blue Mazda 6, and I'm the only car on the road, I'm surrounded by trucks. And a lot of them, there must be at the range a new sticker they're giving out. There's like this F. Biden sticker, and it's an AR-15 with Biden, and it says, F you and the rest, but it's somewhat obscured. So it's like FK Biden gun. Got it. And I'm surrounded by those bumper stickers. I'm the only person in the supermarket who wears a mask. And there I am, 175 pounds, with a basket, not a cart, because I buy small amounts of food very often. And so there I am with my basket of spinach, walking by like men who look like they're 85 years of age, but they're Tennessee 40s. And so they look like they're about to drop dead even quicker than I'm going to drop dead. And they're going by with these like massive shopping carts full of bullets, beer, and frozen pizza. And they see me with my mask and they are completely offended. And they're wearing the red dunce cap that says "Make America Great Again." And they point at me. Like, you don't have to wear that no more because freedom. And it's not for me to have an argument with this guy who's easily packing 1 to 3 handguns under that tremendous fold of his gut that goes over his pants. And so I just say, "Thank you, have a nice day." And that confuses the guy enough for me to get around him, self-check out and leave, because I'm way too cute to catch multiple 9mm slugs in my upper central mass in the parking lot of a supermarket in Nashville. So I'm trying to get along with people as best I can. So what I've been concluding over the last few years, now that the country is in a really scary and intense place, temporary, again, I really think better days are coming because of generational change, I have realized that the human experience is very, very complex. And we Homo sapiens are a very, very complex species. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for our complexities. And I think modern science and technological breakthroughs is informing us, like we now have the access to find out how complex we are. And now we're fully aware there's people in our wonderful country and all over the world who are trans. And there's always been trans people. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe since the beginning of Homo sapiens. And there's some people like, there's no such thing. And they're running away from progress because they want a more simplistic, reductive idea of what the human experience is. And so I fight that in my pseudo-intellectual mind as best I can. And so I do reconcile myself to the fact that I must be patient with my fellow humans, because a lot of the times they present themselves to me as one thing, but their human truth is quite another. And so I meet a lot of people in my line of work. I bounce all over the place. Tonight is show like 93, and this is country 27 for me this year. And so, and I meet a lot of people, and I hear a lot of things, and I see a lot of different ways of life. And so I've concluded that people are okay. I just think if you shove them enough and you scare them enough and you give them an uncertain economic future enough times, they freak out, and the outcome is not always all that good. And so it's very easy to look at the news or like be on the streets of your own city and just conclude, humans suck, I'm done. I'm just gonna stay home, listen to Black Sabbath, ordering pizza, and wait to die. And that's right, I know, and that is a way to go. But I don't think that's necessarily necessary, because I keep seeing these amazing human examples all the time that are almost heartbreakingly beautiful. And a few weeks ago, in beautiful Nashville, I went to the doctor to get checked up. And so I get there early, I put the punk in punctual, I always bring a book. And so I'm reading something, and the first thing I see walk in is 2 men. The one man is in a prison orange jumpsuit, completely shackled, with a guard who's really intense. And like some guy is sprung from jail to go get checked up. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool for Tennessee. You figured this would have taken him out back and killed him. So he's a defect. That's a little story you got. But anyway, and so like that's intense. And no one behind the counter was tripping out that there's a man handcuffed signing some form, and no one else in the waiting was like, whoa! I was like, damn, I took a photo of it and sent it to my manager. I said, look where I live now. And so then a family of 3 came in, mom and dad, and I guess the daughter. And the daughter is a young woman, she's in her 20s, and she is safety belted into a wheelchair. I guess because if she's not safety belted in, she might fall out. And she is talking nonstop to her father. And she seems to have arrested development. She seems to like talk like a child. I mean, she's very, very grown up, but she talks like a little kid. And she never stopped talking. She just kept asking her dad one question after another. And I just watched his face. And at no time was there any like frustration or like, you're wearing me out. He just patiently answered the question. And then I looked at this guy, and he had that look of a man who's worked like for 50 plus years, worked his ass off. Like, he's not fat, but he's got the gut, because he's been eating working at a drive-through fast food place for like 150 years. His hands are swollen, the knuckles are swollen from manual labor, and like there's heavy creases in the neck, and like he's heavily tanned because he works outside. The baseball cap is filthy because he puts it on all the time after touching motor oil or something, and his shoes are worn out, and his pants are worn out, and he's worn out. And he's got nothing but patience and affection for his daughter. And I just watched this for 10 minutes, just marveling at what we humans can do. And she's kind of oblivious. Like, she knows she can talk to her dad, and she's just going on and on and on. And the wife seemed somewhat disconnected. She was just kind of waiting for the appointment to start. But the dad hung in there with his daughter. And so when I get really frustrated with people, I'm done with Homo sapiens. I remember the audience that I serve, and I'm obsessed with you, you have no idea. And I see examples like that, and I'm like, no, we're still in the game. And I can't get cynical, and I can't give up. And so quite often, people show me one aspect of themselves, that I hang out with them for a little while, and then something else comes out. And here's a perfect example of this. A couple of tours ago, I was in the American Midwest. And quite often, I do shows like this in places like this, like theaters, like what looks like a movie theater, however. This one smells pretty good. It smells really good. But quite often, you'll go into a movie theater that's had popcorn, old man urine, and death in it for decades. And with platforms like HBO and Showtime and all of that, movie theaters aren't what they used to be, because you can watch the damn thing at home. And so I'm in a lot of these disused theaters, but they can't get the smell of what it was out of the seats, out of the carpets, and out of the walls. So I spent a lot of nights of my life yelling at 150 people for way too long a time, and that's my lot in life. I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. And so a couple of tours ago, I'm somewhere in the American Midwest, and I don't know if you've ever been. It's remarkably flat. Cows, corn, highways, Starbucks, gun shops, and Ted Nugent running around there hunting something. And so I yell at like at least 75 people for way too long, and thank you, the show is over, and they all flip me off and leave. And so I go staggering out the back of the building, lurching towards my Bon Jovi mobile, my Def Leppard Express, my mobile carbon footprint making rental touring vehicle. And so as I'm walking towards it, I see that 4 young people have coagulated around the front door because they want to have a word with the big guy. Punk rock instructs me to never shut down the enthusiasm of anyone, really, but especially young people. If a young person says, Marco, I must say polo to the best of my ability. You do not say, hey kid, you bother me. You don't shut young people down. That's not how the century ends better than it began. And I'm really invested in the century ending better than it began. And so I eat once a day. I am starving in front of you right now. Why would I want to be consciously hungry on stage? It keeps me angry and focused and intense. And you deserve nothing less from me. Thank you. So, by the time I'm done haranguing an audience for hours on end, I'm wiped out. And there's a bowl of rice and chicken on board. Oh, I just want the damn food bowl. So I'm standing, there's like 4 people in my way. I'm like, okay, this is what you do. Like the Ian MacKay moral rectitude drone is hovering above me, monitoring my every move. Don't blow it, kiddo. And so the 4 young people straighten up when they see me. He's here, he's here. Like, excuse me, Mr. Rollins, we understand that you're perpetually starving and there's a bowl of food on board, but we have some questions for you. Fire away, young people. And so we have a scintillating conversation, the contents of which I've long forgotten. And so they have their back to the venue. Let's see, yeah, they have their back to the venue. I have my back to the bus. So I'm facing them, facing the darkness, and facing the venue. About 3 minutes into this conversation, I see a man emerging from the darkness, walking towards me. Not walking towards us, walking towards me. This guy is laser focused on me. And I've seen this before. It is a hyperventilating alpha male. And so every muscle is flexed. The man boobs are prominent. And I know it's coming because I've seen this so many times before. He's going to get right in front of me with like both jets of nostril air pummeling my chest. He's like, I'm angry with you, man. because I've done something during the show. I made fun of Sarah Palin or something like that. And so he's mad, and he's going to inform me that I've transgressed some line, that I thus offended him, and soon his patience will run out a few seconds from now. The training will kick in, and he will be unable to not beat the daylights out of me. And so 5 seconds later, he's right in my face. I gotta talk to you, man. I said, well, I'm all ears. I'm here all night. I'm just trying to answer calmly to maybe kind of like, like clip the right wire and make the bomb not blow up. I notice my 4 constituents have moved away from me. Because they're intelligent. They don't want to get my blood on their t-shirts. And so they're like, oh no, not me, not tonight. Because they know good old Henry's about to get the daylights kicked out of him. Like, I'm gonna ask you a question, man. I can answer questions about eBay, but if you talk about string theory or that abstract zero, I got nothing. I'm gonna ask you a question, man. You better tell me the truth. I will answer any question as accurately and as fully as possible. It might take a while. I'm one of those guys that go on and on and on and on. And he points at the tour bus like, is my wife on your bus? I don't get to call anyone stupid. I'm the dimmest bulb in any chandelier. I'm barely a high school graduate. I will volunteer. That is easily the most ridiculous question ever thrown at me in front of a rental touring vehicle. And I've been living on them meaningfully since the summer of 1991, the first ever Lollapalooza. And so I look over at my 4 constituents, and they're putting their hands up to their mouth to cover their laughter. Because it's kind of funny. Now, I had an answer to that question. I also had questions of my own. Unfortunately, for this man and all of you, I'm a very curious person. And so I didn't get a chance to answer, and I didn't get a chance to ask the questions of my own. Had I had an opportunity to answer the question, I would have said, sir, the short answer is no. Your good wife is not on board. In fact, there are no humans on board. At maximum capacity, our entourage, if you will, would be 4. Me, the talent, road manager man, bus driver man, and t-shirt salesman man. And right now, bus driver guy is probably emerging from hopefully a fitful 5 to 7 hours of sleep so he can get us to the next bird without driving us into a tree or a deer. A road manager man is probably in the production office of that movie theater, strangling the promoter over a $20 discrepancy in the agreement. T-shirt salesman man is having a tug of war with an angry punk rock male who wants anarchy now prices and refuses to pay $25 for a 4XL long sleeve t-shirt. He wants to pay more in the $8 to $9 range, back in like when it was really cool in like 1941. And so t-shirt salesman man and angry punk rock man are having a tug of war with a 4XL t-shirt, which is basically a tent like entire families can live in, like north of the Mason-Dixon line. And so yeah, I know, but it's true. Anyways, and so that would be all 4 of us. So no, there's no one on the bus. And what this man does not understand is that he's given me a compliment. He thinks I have this incredible ability to look at an audience, talk at a high rate of speed, looking directly at them, into their eyes, trying to make an emotional and intellectual connection with them. Meanwhile, I'm roving the audience, looking for my post-show chew toy for the night. And they can't look, and they can't tell that I'm doing that. But I'm searching, and I have found her somewhere over there. I'm not pointing at anyone on purpose. I'm just saying, she's over there. And with one scan, I can tell she's attached to that guy. So all the way from here, when I'm in the middle of an idea, I've got to be able to separate that woman from that guy. So how do I do that without setting up a road flare? I use subtle eyebrow manipulation. I undulate this eyebrow, which is lady speak for split the square, go to the ladies' room, wriggle out the window, dash across the parking lot, and the Bon Jovi mobile door will magically open for you. Get in there, get your damn clothes off, and get the mayonnaise and the straps and the German Shepherd. Because after the show, we are going to reenact the first 4 Poison videos from MTV in the last century. Here he comes! And so he thinks I can do that. So how can I seal the deal? She's like, okay, so I split this square. And so I use subtle hand manipulation that no one in the venue can see except for her. She's like, and And that's what I was going to be. What this angry man does not understand was when I had black hair exploding from my pointy head in the age of Reagan, I did not have the powers of pull. Now that I look like Tutankhamun, now that I look like a drying lizard in front of you, when I say, it's still alive after 15 minutes. How does he do it? Do you think I have the powers of pull now? You think some woman, like in her 20s or 30s, like wants to get with this? That is absolutely hilarious. You're out of your mind. It just does not happen. It is what it is. Death is coming my way. And so I'm trying to get my kicks while I still can, which is like going to the supermarket and buying the fancy cottage cheese. Yay! Victory! Anyway. So I had questions of my own. Sir, were you even at the show tonight? When did you lose visual contact with your wife? Does she have a cell phone? Oh, good. Do you have a cell phone? No problem. Let me send her a texty text, and we can bring the both of you back together again, because she's not on the bus, and I have no bloody idea where she is. So I didn't get a chance to answer the question or ask the ones that I had, because I'm too busy looking over the man's heaving shoulders to see a woman emerging from the darkness, about his age, late 20s, early 30s, and she has a look of flat, resigned anger on her face. Her face says, "Men are the reason why rivers change course. Men are the reason why entire mountain ranges go away to be denuded for their lead, zinc, and titanium content. Men are the reason why battlefields are perpetually full, prisons explode, and classrooms are poorly attended. Men are the reason why women's great potential all over the world will never be realized, because men, through abuse and legislation, keep women down century after century, and we know it, and somehow we let you get away with it when we should be shooting you and castrating you every single damn day." I'm probably not. I'm probably the biggest schmuck as ever walked under the sun. And so she comes walking up and she stops and she parks herself on the man's left side. And she points at the tour bus as she looks at me and through me. And she says, "Did you just ask if I was on your bus?" Oh, look, it's the wife. So they're back together again. And this is where it gets really interesting. The man immediately goes from, his body softens. The man boobs kind of retreat back into the t-shirt. He seems to somewhat deflate. He puts one of his hands up to his eyes and he starts crying. And tears are coming out of his eyes, going between his hand and his cheek, going down his cheek to his jawbone and dropping onto the concrete. And he says over and over again like a mantra, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And the wife is completely unimpressed. And she looks at me and says, "He gets this way when he's drunk," which means this is not the first time. And that's when I become aware of the smell of alcohol coming off this guy's breath. He was like a human liquor store. And then he just kept, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And she looks at him with disgust and said, "Let's go." And the two of them 180 and they recede into the darkness. And as they left, I thought of what an amazing insult this guy just handed his good wife. He's basically saying to her, as soon as you get out of my eyesight, your biggest mission in life is to escape from me and like run onto a tour bus and make it with some 7,000-year-old lizard man. And no doubt, she's got to drive the family truck back to the trailer park to go back into the single wide trailer, and their life goes grinding on. And so at no point really did I think I was going to get punched out. I would like to think I could talk my way out of that situation, even like bringing him on the bus. Search the bus like a Canadian border guard. Go through all of it. And he wouldn't have found his wife on board, obviously, and he might have cooled out. But all I could see was not a tough guy, and maybe he's tough, who cares? But what I saw was a defensive guy, an insecure guy, who doesn't know, where his wife is, and he freaks out. And I hope those two young people found a way to keep their marriage together. Because that guy definitely either needs to work on himself or someone he trusts, to tell him something, and he needs to listen. And I think that describes the human condition perfectly. We're one thing to show off because we have to be so tough all the time, but when push comes to shove, sometimes the real self comes out. At no time was I angry with this guy. He was was just damn annoying, because it would have been a much better conversation if he had come to his senses, but he wasn't in his right mind at that moment, because he thinks his wife is on my bus. And why? Who knows? There's any reason under the sun you can imagine. And so I now approach any interaction with humans very, very carefully, just because we're not fragile, but we're all somewhat neurotic. I would just, for fun's sake, that we're all neurotic sacks of water and recessive traits. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, I just wonder if maybe for the last several hundred years, humans have been comporting and interacting with each other in a horrible way. What if, and this is like hopey, changey, tree huggy, but what if we could get to a certain level of communication in this country and all over the world where we don't abuse each other so gratuitously? And I think the internet is partially responsible for that, where you can be some keyboard warrior and say mean things about LGBTQ folks and suffer no consequences, where you don't really have to smell the person you're insulting. You can just be like a drone operator, and like from Langley, you can kill people like 17,000 miles away. But what if we comported ourselves differently and acknowledge that we're not all that tough all the time? And there's, I'm sure, a lot of tough people in this room. You're not that tough. And I'm not going to be the one who proves that to you. I'm just saying you can be broken by a pro interrogator, and if you think you're a good fighter, there's probably a tougher guy around the corner. So no one's really that tough all the time. And so maybe if we went from that human truth forward, maybe things could be different. What if your kids or your friends' kids could go through their entirety of their school life, from like first grade to graduation, and never hear, "Hey, faggot!" said to them all the time? What kind of adult would that person make? What kind of voter would that person make? What kind of parent, friend, sister, relative, employee would that person make? What would society, what would the ramifications of that be after 300 years of not so much abuse? And it's like, you're high, man. Maybe I'm high. But that's the way I try to comport myself, because as I said, me and Dick Cheney and Joe Biden, we're dead soon. But I want the century to end better than it began. And so this is my microscopic drop of sand into the ocean, trying to further that. Because I can't influence anyone, nor would I try. I would never tell you who to vote for. I would just beg that you do vote. Who you vote for, none of my damn business. I don't care. I just want you to do it. And so that's like my contribution to pushing the thing forward in a way that I think might be positive. Because all I see around me is so negative. No, it's not. It's just intellectually cheap. It's intellectually poorly prepared and undercooked. And I'm sick of it, because I just know we can do better. Gee, Henry, you're trying to harbor a lot of goodwill amongst your audience. Okay, how about I take all of that phony goodwill and torch it and light it on fire right now and tell you the funniest thing that happened to me last year. And it's a long story. And the last part of it is kind of funny. So the last 7 seconds of the story is funny, but the first 75 minutes is utterly turgid. So in order to give you some scintilla of enjoyment of the story, I have to roll back the tape of my life all the way to 1960 to give you proper historical context. Don't worry, it's going to jump to present day in about an hour and a half. Okay, so in 1960, Paul meets Iris in the northwest quadrant of Washington, D.C. Paul would be my father. To the right of my father is Fox News and a wall. To the left of my mother is Joan Baez and a wall. Two diametrically opposed on every single topic but alcohol, people meet at a party. And my mom is like my dad. They're both hyper-intellectual, hard-working careerists. Neither one of them ever wanted a kid. And so they're both really good looking, and probably my mom hit on my dad because he was really uptight just like me. And she probably said, "Hey, you fascist, let's do this." And they found they rolled around, I become the bug in the oven, and my mom's Catholic guilt no doubt caved in on her, and she insists on a marriage. And I arrive in early 1961. As soon as I arrive, boom, so there I am. I hate you more. They get divorced, and I spend the rest of my time until I graduate from high school bouncing back and forth across the northwest quadrant of Washington, D.C., 5 days a week in my mom's microscopic apartments, and 2 days a week in my father's middle-class house somewhere in Washington, D.C. He moved around quite a bit. And so I'd endure 5 days a week with my mom, who has perfect taste in music, like Mozart, Brahms, Coltrane, really good stuff, show tunes, like Streisand, Jesus Christ Superstar, really cool stuff. And she also loves to drink and smoke and freak out. And she's really well read. Every damn art book in the world is in our tiny apartment. And she's like knocking back wine, gin and tonic, whatever, throwing things against the wall, and having Linda Blair freakouts all the time. And I'm a jittery, nervous little kid high on Ritalin and hyperactivity. And so when the adult in the room is throwing things and freaking out and screaming for no reason, the kid unit doesn't know what to do because there's no one to call and say, the adult in the room is out of control. And so my default was run to my room, close the door, and put on a Beatles record, who I adopted as my 4 alt dads, especially Ringo, because of the 4, he seemed the easiest to approach. Like, the other 3 were very talented, but somewhat agenda-driven. But Ringo's just hanging out, waiting for the band to get back together again. And so I liked him and kind of feared the other 3. But I hung out with him all the time. And so I would go from there for 48 hours of fear with my father, who's now married a psychotic woman who's really, really intelligent. And she has just quit her time being an FBI agent, and she's now a lawyer for really bad underworld figures. So there's guns all over the house. They both like drinking, and they both have things they love to hate together. They both hate non-white people, gay people, and women people. And so I'd be there for the 48 hours of fear around alcohol and like really terrifying adults to go back to my mom's apartment. And my mom is a heterosexual woman who wants to be with a man now and then. And she had one abusive alcoholic boyfriend after another. I think her misery wanted company. And so one pervo alcoholic man after another would infiltrate our tiny apartments. And some of them, all of them hated me, but some of them loved to hate me in very special ways. And so I'm fine. Joe Strummer and Joey Ramone saved me later. What I'm trying to say is my early years sucked, and I'm glad it's all behind me. And so it was bad, really bad. And I had no one to talk about. Who can you tell? Like your friends at school, they'll just call you names. Who can you tell? Your dad? I feared everything. I was afraid of the sun coming up in the morning. I was king of the flinch. Hey, because I was just scared because everyone was scary to me. And so somewhere in the 1970s, around 1977, I think my mom made a great mistake. She found a nice guy, and his name is Les. And Les at most drinks like half a glass of white wine at dinner. Les is never drunk. Les has no hair on his head, so he augments his basically hairless noggin with huge sideburns, and he has a uniform, a dark green turtleneck, a sports jacket, and dark like corduroy pants. And while my mom was like hyperactive all the time, where did I get it from? Les is like this panda bear of tranquility. Oh, wow. Far out. Hey, Henry. Wow, you're in school. That's crazy. And so he was kind of cool. And quite often I'd arrive like late afternoon after the 48 hours of fear from my dad's place, and they are in the living room. And my mom's on the shag carpet. It is the 1970s after all. And she's already thrown something against the wall, and they're listening to something like, My Fair Lady or whatever it is. And she's like freaking out. And I'm like, I start trembling uncontrollably, dashing from my room to put on the Beatles because the adult in the room is crazy. And Les would stop me. Hey man, no need to freak out. Iris is just doing her anger thing. She's running her anger tapes. Let's do anger with Iris. And he would get up and stand next to my mom. Oh wow, we're angry. Far out. And my mom, he wouldn't flinch. Like, oh wow, so angry. Come on, Henry, let's do anger with your mom. And I'm a very, very uptight person, so I can't really, shake my booty at the dock. But I was like, anger, wow. It is as freaky as I got in those days. And like, no, get in your room! No, he said I could do anger, wow. And so somehow the Les could neutralize the Iris, and she would eventually calm down. And whenever I'd see him at the apartment, I'd think to myself, Les! Run. Get away! And she must have had something that kept him coming back. In the year of 1979, they got married. And around that time, I find out that he's got 3 daughters from a previous marriage. We'll call them the daughters of Les. And they're very, very nice to me. They see me for what I am, an underfed, hyperactive, incredibly angry, nervous young person. And they have nothing but sympathy. They're genuinely nice people. And so I didn't want to go to the wedding. I never wanted to see any of these people ever again. I don't want them killed. I just want to never see them again. I want to go into the minimum wage working world, which is all I've ever been prepared for, and toil it out like a character in a freaking Bruce Springsteen song. And so I went off, and so this Daughters of Less called me. Henry, would you please come to this wedding and stand with us for at least 15 minutes in solidarity, because we don't want to be here either. I feel you, sister. And so I went, and and 14:59, and I'm out of here. And I hope to never see any of them again. Even the Daughters of Less were really, really nice to me. I wanted to be over, because it was 18 point something years of it sucked. And so I go into the minimum wage working world. I have an apartment, a car that doesn't really work, and I'm toiling away. 2 years after all of that, it's 1981 summer, I am now the head manager of a Haagen-Dazs ice cream store on Wisconsin Avenue and O Street, right next to the beautiful Georgetown University. And I hit the ceiling of Haagen-Dazs at $3.75 an hour. I am now doing 40 to 70 hours in this place, because I'm hiring, firing, figuring out the accounts at the end of the night, doing the nightly deposit because my boss trusted me because I don't steal, and I'm just doing the thing. And I'm eating at 7-Eleven pretty much every night after work is over. So I'm eating microwavable beef and bean and cheese burritos. And I learned, you put it on setting 5, and you take this frozen log of prepared death, and you get it to room temperature. And I could never get the plastic separated from the tortilla on the outside. And so to save time, I just learned to squeeze from the bottom. And you squeeze up this noxious paste into your gut. And you realize that every meal you've just taken 17 seconds off your life. And the Snickers bar and full 32-ounce Coke I drank for dessert on the way home probably didn't help. And so that's how I was living. I was angry and in full realization that my life was going to be another 40 to 50 years of this. Either this job or a job just like it. Dull, repetitive motion that's hard on the lumbar region, the knees, the ankles, the hands, and any inspiration, you might have to do anything with your life ever. And I realized I am, as Black Sabbath want to say, killing myself to live. But I could not think my way out of that paper bag. I'm not a smart guy. I went, well, I'll just have to be really, really, really tough. And I was just in there slugging it out. And in spring of 1981, I saw a band, and as soon as I saw them, during the first song, I hated their guts immediately. They're called Black Flag. I saw them, hated them, because they were angry exactly the way I was angry. And I looked at the legendary singer Des Cadet, and I'm like, I want your job. I want your job so bad. I want to pick up a microphone and never pick up an ice cream scoop again. I want to be angry like you guys are angry, and live in a van and play in front of abusive people, all 35 of them a night. That's what I want. And so I saw Black Flag play a few times in the spring of 1981, and every day I'm scooping ice cream And in July of 1981, the band came back to the Eastern Seaboard. No doubt they played Boston, they played New York, but not Washington, D.C. So I went up to New York City to see the band. I jumped on stage with them and sang a 93-second song. And my road test was, I want to sing a Black Flag song the way I think it should be sung. Where like internal organs come flying out of the mouth, blood comes from the eyes, and the audience is annihilated. In a good way, dude, that was ultimate. Because I just thought they just weren't doing it hard enough. I want to see singers die, song after song, and somehow resurrect and get through the show. I want the sacrifice to be total. I want to see a musician have a life in music and come out of it as a life in the NFL, where everything is broken and they hobble down the road. Like Iggy Pop, everything has been broken. He does it on stage so many times, the guy can't even sit down hey, my entire body hurts. Anyway, and so I'm back at Haagen-Dazs a couple of days later, having been in Black Flag for 93 seconds, going, why did I do that? Because it felt really, really good. And now I have that to think about for the rest of my life. When a member of Black Flag found Haagen-Dazs in the phone book and called and said, hey, we're still in New York. We're looking for a new singer because Des wants to move the rhythm guitar. You're a pretty crazy guy who can yell pretty well. You want to come up here and audition? And I'm not a tough guy. I don't think I've got this. I never thought I've got this in my life. And so I realized this could be something, or I could just have a life of here's your ice cream. And so I screwed up my non-existent courage. I went, yeah, time and place. And the next day, I was there in a practice room, jumping up and down like an idiot, singing words I didn't know. I'm just making it up. And they played every song they had 2 times. And we were there like an hour and a half. They went, all right, go to the front lounge of the practice place and sit. We're going to have our decision and we'll be with you presently. And I figured that's going to be like 1 to 5 hours as they pull out the sacred texts and put the skull on it and the candle and light the incense and do the incantations. I sat down like 30 seconds later. They slouch into the practice place lobby and I'm sitting and they're standing looking down at me. I'm like, oh no, quick jury, I'm screwed. Like, you're in. I said, in what? Black flag. Who? You? Me? Yeah. Doing what? Singer. Who? You? Me? Yeah. Like, and it went around and around like that, like who's on first. And finally, Chuck Dukowski broke the rhythm. Do you want to be in this band or not? I'm like, yes. So what do? And he handed me a flyer of the tour itinerary. He handed me a folder of lyrics. He said, leave! Go home, kiss your little mommy goodbye, learn the lyrics, and find us on tour. Go! And I went staggered back to the train station, read the lyrics all the way back to Washington, D.C., utterly terrifying. Like, we're going to kill every cop in Los Angeles. The streets have become rivers of blood. Ah! So I went to my boss, Steve, and we're still pals to this day. I said, Steve, I'm leaving. The first thing he said was like, I'll give you $4 an hour. Like instead of $3.75. I said, boss, the money's not the lure. And I told him what had happened. I go, look, man, I'm a young man, and this is a shot at something. And he went, you know what? You got to take this, but it's not going to work out. So when you come back here in 2 weeks with your tail between your legs, I'll think about giving you your job back. I go, you never know. I might need that. And so I called my best friend, you know Ian Mackay from Fugazi. Ian and I have been best friends since he was 11 and I was 12. And we're both 2 old-ass men, and we're both best friends to this day. It's a friendship a little bit over 50 years. The single best achievement of my stunted life. And so I called Ian, this is back before the internet, we talk all the time, and he goes, where have you been for the last day? And I explained what happened. I could hear his jaw hit the ground. And I said, yeah, I'm leaving. And he said, and I will take you to the bus station. So a couple of days later, and I still had the ticket overnight from Washington, D.C. to Detroit, Michigan. And so I left, and Ian drops me off at the bus station, and I've got a duffel bag of clothes and 6 $20 bills in my front pants pocket. The next day, I get to Detroit, unable to sleep, completely wired. I take a taxi to a place I believe it's called Clutch Cargo's, a small rock club. I think it's gone now. I think it's a parking lot. I walk in, afternoon, Black Flag's not there yet, and there's a smiling Midwestern woman behind the bar. She says, may I help you? And the first time ever in my life, as a declarative sentence, I said, I'm the singer in Black Flag. I didn't even believe it myself. The words felt foreign as they came out of my mouth. I was expecting her to be like, get out of here. You went, oh, that's great. Would you like something to drink? I'll never forget this. I bellied up to the bar and said, I'll have a Coke, please. And she gave me the Coke that you get at a bar, half non-carbonated water, half syrup, 1 lonely ice cube, and that weird red stirrer thing that has 2 holes in it. I always took it to be a straw because I don't drink alcoholic drinks. Like, how come this doesn't work? Anyway, I'll never forget this. I hoisted the plastic cup up to my mouth, and you're going to think I'm kidding, but I'm not. The first thing I thought is, I remember it like it was all those years ago. The first thing I thought was, free drinks. Oh yeah. Like, rock star, you're looking at one. I'm like, this is going to be great. I just got 11 cents worth of Coke. And so, about 2 hours later, Black Flag comes up in their like completely destroyed white van. I run out there with my tail wagging, holding my duffel bag, and they get out, and I'm like, I made it! And that's when I realized no one at Black Flag smiles. And so one of them said, do you have any money? And I stupidly pulled out the 6 $20. They robbed me in the parking lot. What's in the duffel bag? And I said, clean clothes. And so my duffel bag was open and my clean clothes were distributed amongst my feral bandmates in a matter of seconds. And that is why, if you've ever been curious, if you look at photos of Black Flag when I just joined the band, you'll see a live shot of Greg Ginn and Chuck Dukowski at the same time, both wearing Haagen-Dazs shirts. And may I tell you that those were not gifts. That was theft. And so, anyway, I'm gone, and somehow my mom and boss find out I have migrated to Los Angeles, maybe they found out through Ian, because he's a decent guy, he'll answer the phone. And so they insist on coming to every single Black Flag show in the Washington, D.C. area, time after time after time. And so we toil through a set that seeks to kill us, an audience that throws ashtrays at our head. And we finish the show, and we're now like sweating it out in some dressing room with no ventilation. And we see Iris and Les framing the doorway to give us their after-action report as to what they thought of the show. And Les would always go first. Oh, wow. You sure played your anger tape tonight. Far out. Where do you think I got it from? And so I started to see Iris and Les hurl themselves into senility in jump cuts, because we're there every several months. And so what I noticed as to their metabolism heading towards death was Les always looked the same, but he would talk slower and slower. So inside, his metabolic rate is winding down. Iris still had the same speed and metabolism, but she's getting physically smaller. You see some elderly people, they start to dry out. Like the lizard that got out of the terrarium you find 2 years later, like it weighs 2 grams. It used to be a 4-foot-long iguana, and now you can just like crush it in your hand. That was my mom, to where you can't even see her, but you can kind of hear like, what's that sound? Oh wow, it's Iris, she's playing in the carpet. And so, year after year, they keep showing up. Les is getting slower, Iris is getting smaller, and it is what it is. Like, oh wow, I think I'm dying. And like, they keep coming. And so around like 1980 goes into 1990 something, and around the early 2000s, Iris and Les are both 155 years of age, and they don't even know where they are anymore. Good morning, my name is Pancake. I mean, they're getting way out there. And one of the daughters of Les, who's a really good person, lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and she adopts them and brings them to Philadelphia so she can look in on them, so neither one of them falls and breaks their pelvis in the shower, and the other one doesn't know to call for help. And so she's a really good person. So now these two ancient people are living in an apartment building under the watchful gaze of one of the daughters of Les. And so, at one point, they start coming to shows in Philadelphia. And so now we're doing the whole ritual again, but a few hours up the road. And now they're getting way out there. Oh, wow. I don't remember the show. Oh, I urinated in my pants again. We'll be back to see you if we're not dead in the meantime. We don't drive anymore. We now take taxis. Death. Wow. Later. It won't die. It's still alive. And so, that's that. And so, then years go by, and then a thing called COVID comes to town. And you had a president on watch who didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And if you just keep those people on that cruise liner away from the coast, it'll all be gone by Monday. And if it's not, here's a bottle of bleach, you figure out the rest. And COVID went, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to kill them all. And COVID went a ripping and a tearing across the United States of America. COVID gets to Philadelphia. COVID gets to the apartment building in which Iris and Les dwell. COVID gets inside the apartment. COVID hits Les. Kills him. COVID hits my mom. And she's now at the stage of her life where she doesn't even know that Les is gone. And so a while after that, I'm on tour. I'm in Vienna, Austria, and I finished the show. I'm flying to Germany the next day. A damn thing in my life that's been hectoring and emasculating me will be 27 years next month. Its damn name is Heidi May. This creature has been like keeping me in my lane all this time. And so whenever the Heidi calls me, it's like, hey Henry, just called to see how you're doing, because she manages all my affairs. It's like she calls to indict me. Like, remember that thing you said 117 years ago? I'm like, you never let me forget anything. No! So whenever I see Heidi on the phone, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get yelled at. So I'm in bed, I got like 3 hours of sleep before I gotta go again, and Heidi calls, Henry, where are you right now? Well, Heidi, you know where I am. You helped book the tour. And so, where am I? Let's see. I'm covered in tequila and the urine of Russian prostitutes. You know, that's, Henry, no you're not. Then you tell me where I am. You're in a hotel. Yes, Heidi, I'm in a hotel, trying to sleep. Shut up. Okay, I'll never say a word again. No! Henry, are you okay? I'm getting yelled at by an insane woman. Henry, shut up! Henry, your mother just had a massive stroke. Humans are tricky with the way they take in information. My reaction to hearing that my mom has suffered a massive stroke, I was laughing uncontrollably. I never thought it was funny. I just started laughing, which made the Heidi really, really mad. Henry, your mother had a stroke and you're laughing? Now I'm laughing so hard I'm almost suffocating. Now I'm unable to Henry, no, you're mean. She hung up on me. And so I put the phone down and kept on laughing. And like, my mom had a stroke. Is it funny? No, I don't know why I was laughing. But I laughed and laughed and laughed. And so now Iris is living alone, post-stroke, post-COVID. And now she's somewhat famous in her apartment building for being the little old lady who wanders the hallways of her apartment building, knocking on people's doors, stark naked, saying, help, help, I'm being held hostage, which is kind of rock and roll if you think about it. So after Les passes away, one of the daughters of Les emails me. Henry, as you know, Les has passed away. We've cremated Les's remains, and we're going to have a family trip from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. to distribute Les's ashen remains in Rock Creek Park, a beautiful park that goes through D.C., underneath trees that Iris and Les used to enjoy looking at for the content of their birds. As you know, they love their nature hikes, and if you can remember, your mother, when she would see a brightly colored bird on a low branch, would utilize her claws and run vertically up the tree, grab the bird, and eat it whole. She was a very resourceful predator and was always looking for alternate sources of protein. So if you want to be part of this family event, we're going to make a prayer circle and remember dear Leslie, and then take his ashes and throw them into the woods and into the actual Rock Creek. And I wrote back, I said, I can't make that. You know, I can't do it, but thank you for the invite. And your dad never hit me. And I like your dad. I hope you all are okay. But he had a long life. But I'm not going to hang out and play around with a bunch of dead person's ashes. I think Western people and death is such a weird equation anyway. So my life goes on, and it goes all the way up until last summer about a year and some months ago. I'm in Nashville, and I take my mighty Mazda 6 to a huge parking lot, and I get out. My mission is to go to the Home Depot and purchase a rake, because I now have a small and uninteresting house that has a small lawn in front, and I want to rake the leaves. And so I'm walking towards the Home Depot, and I'm going to buy a rake today, which just shows you how kick-ass and rock and roll my life turned out to be. And so if it was like the singer in Motley Crue, he'd be buying a rake with like 10 hot bitches with him, and like his nose would be full of cocaine. But I'm in a pair of like $4 pants staggering into a hardware store to buy a rake to rake with. So I'm almost at the hardware store when I get an incoming text from Heidi. Henry, I hate to inform you, but your mother has just passed away. I want to get on the phone with you right now and use the FaceTime app so we can look at each other's faces and talk about your feelings about your mother passing away. And I texted back, no time, about to buy a rake. I said that because I knew what the blowback would be, and I love getting Heidi mad. The way I can push her buttons in is fantastic. Henry, your mother just died. You are not going to go buy a rake. You're going to get on the phone with me, and we're going to talk about your feelings. Going to airplane mode, which is like, Henry, yeah! And I cut her off. Hilarious. I put the phone in my pocket, I go to the hardware store, I buy the rake, I go back to my front lawn, and I rake for about 130 seconds. I'm like, and that's the boringest thing I've ever done. And I put the rake in the garage, I'll probably never, ever touch it again. And so a few days go by, Heidi and I eventually have our talk about feelings. And then about a week after that, I get an incoming email from one of the daughters of Les. Henry, you must be beside yourself with grief. We are so sorry about the passing of your mom. I'm fine, actually. Henry, hopefully we have not offended your religious or spiritual views. I don't have either. But we have taken your mother's body and we've cremated it. We now have your mother's ashen remains in a plastic box. We are ready to FedEx your mother to you, to any address you specify, which is absolutely bizarre to me. And so I have a mail place, like a rental place, right? My mail gets picked up for me because I'm on the road. And had I said yes and knew the FedEx would come in the next day, they usually drop off around 1,400 hours, I would have been there to intercept the box of my mom so the UPS guys don't have to deal with my dead mom at their place for too long. And I can just see myself walking in there, and there's a large box on the counter, and all the guys who work there, they know me. They're like, hey, this just came in for you, man. And it's not your usual thing, like your punk rock posters and your punk rock records, which you win from other loser men on eBay. This is this FedEx thing, and it's really heavy. I'm like, you're an interesting and weird guy, Henry. We're really curious. If you don't mind us asking, what's in the box? I go, you want to know what's in the box? I'm like, well, yeah. I go, no problem. I'll tell you what's in the box. Pick up the box, put it up to your ear, and shake it. What? Pick up the box, put it up to your ear, and shake it. Do it now. What? What's in here? My dead mother's ashes. You weirdo! Get your mom and get out! And so what would I do with Iris if I received her via FedEx? Take her back to my house? Well, she'll never get a chance to see this lawn, but... Now what do I do with her? I know. What else are we going to do today? So I've got no use for her ashes. So I write back, hey, thank you so much for incinerating Iris. It never occurred to me that I'd have to deal with that. I thought you were just going to roll her in a bed sheet, put her out by the curb, slap a no base sticker on her, and like someone will rip her off anytime soon. I mean, it's a dynamic city, a lot of moving parts and a bunch of agendas going on. But thanks. Just hit me with Venmo if you need to kick in for the incineration. No need to send Iris to me. I'm sure you decent, ethical folks will figure out something to do with my mom's ashes remains. And about a week later, I get an email addressed to a bunch of people. Hey, family! We have decided to take Iris's ashes to Washington, D.C. and retrace our steps that we did with Les all those months ago and put Iris with Les in field and stream. And we're going to have a circle and talk about our lives with Iris and our thoughts and sentiments, and then we're going to redistribute the ashes in the woods and in the water. If you want to be part of this family event, please let us know. And I write back immediately, thank you so much for inviting me. I can't make that, but thank you, and have a wonderful day in the park. So I look to see who else has been CC'd on this email, and I see that Ian Mackay has also received this email. Well, he knows my mom as well as I do, because as you do when your kids are in each other's places all the time. So Ian emails me about an hour later. I know you saw the thing from Iris. Are you going to go? And I wrote back, you know me, I'm not going to that thing. And Ian writes back and said, well, I'm going. And I write back and said, why? And I'll never forget this. He wrote back and said, I'm going to go to represent. And the first thing I thought was, the 1990s just called and they want their phrase back. Represent? I mean, who says that anymore? And he said, well, you and I both suffered under the lash of the Iris, which is true, and so I'm going to go to represent that time period of her life. And I go, you are the better man of the two of us. You've always been, and you always will be, because I'm not going. He said, well, I am, and you can't stop him. He's all grown up now. And so Ian and I usually talk every Sunday for about an hour, and the idea of two old men putting the world right. And the topic of Iris, the afternoon of Iris and the ashes, never comes up. And months and months and months go by. Last year I did 114 shows in 2 countries. The tour ends in November in Hawaii. And I come back to Nashville in mid-November, and the tour is over. So I called Ian. I said, hey man, I haven't been to Washington, D.C. in 3 years because of COVID. It'd be great to see you. If you have any time next week, how about I get my car tuned up? I'll drive up there because it's only 10 and a half hours from my driveway to yours, and we'll hang out. And he said, do it, man. So I got the car tuned up. I drove there. We had 3 days of hanging out. It was great to see him. It's great to see the old neighborhood. I grew up with his family. They're really nice people. And so the visit is over, and it's for me to drop off Ian in the alley behind his house. And this is when I heard the funniest thing from last year. So Ian's about to get out of the car to go into the house and have dinner with his family. He's got a family. I've got a record collection. We chose different paths. And so he's about to get out, and he said, wait a minute. I just remembered, we never talked about the afternoon of dealing with Iris's ashes. I said, no, we never broached the topic because you want to know what happened? And truly, I don't. But if Ian Mackay is in storytelling mode, my advice to you is let him go, because he is a great storyteller. He's wickedly funny and really, really intelligent. He can do all the voices too. And so he's kind of like a punk rock Mark Twain. He's really, really good. And so, okay. Henry, I'm going to take a big fat guess and guess that you never read any of the subsequent emails that came in after the initial invite. I said, you know me, I deleted every single one of them. Like, I knew it. So here's what you don't know. At great expense, the Daughters of Les sent your mother's ashes to a company that puts them in these like kind of jelly bags so you can like touch the bag and not have to touch the actual remains. You're going to have a prophylactic experience with the dead. And the material is such that it melts quickly into field and stream. So you can throw the bags of the deceased into the water or into the forest, and no fish, acorn, squirrel, or tree will be thus offended. And so there we are with fistfuls of your mom's ashes in these weird bags in a circle, remembering Iris. And now that everyone's grown up, the Daughters of Les have daughters of their own. And apparently, one of the daughters of Les had a fistful of my mom, and she goes nuts. I hate you! I hate you! I was always nice to you, and you were a mean, abusive, alcoholic. I hate you, Iris! I hate you! Whoa. Well, humans are complex and grief is tricky. My advice, rumble, young person, rumble. Get it out. And so that part is over, and now they're in the forest trying to figure out where they put Les all those years ago. And I understand the poetic symmetry. Now Les and Iris will be together forever, into the soil, into the water. That's kind of nice. And if that gives anyone some peace of mind, do it. For me, it means nothing. And so I wonder what you do with someone's ashes when you have to put it in the place so designated. Do you carefully kneel down and place the bag of ashes at the base of the tree? Or to save time, if there's a lot of bags of ashes to be dispersed, do you just start throwing them? And if you throw them, how does one throw them? And you might agree with me, an overhand approach seems a bit callous, like death. What? An underhand just seems like death. Or maybe you decide, screw it, let's have some fun. I wasn't there, I have no idea what happened. So anyway, that part of the whole thing comes to an end, and this is the funny part. Now the bereaved are lining the bank of Rock Creek, the actual moving body of water. They start throwing bags of my mom into the water, and no doubt she'll go downstream and settle exactly where Les settled all those months ago when they threw him in unbagged. And so now they're throwing Iris into the water. What the bereaved could not have anticipated was by doing so, they have activated the interests of a bunch of wild ducks who see things flying through the air, and they've seen this before. Picnickers are done with the feast. There's a few sandwiches left over. There's some ducks. Let's break the Wonder Bread into bite-sized pieces and throw them into the water so the ducks can get some calories for the breeding season upcoming. Some of you might be hungry right now, but that's a Homo sapiens hunger. You know you can get food. You're not going to starve to death in beautiful Massachusetts. Ducks are not so sure. So their hunger is Darwinian. Their hunger comes informed by fear and an imperative to make more ducks. So the ducks don't casually go into the water. Hey, look, it's sandwiches. They go in violently, like wing, wing. So now the wings are smashing the surface of the water, and the ducks vie for position, knocking each other out of the way to get chunks of my mom, to digest my mom, to get ready for breeding season. This is not casual. This is the great wild outdoors. And so now that Iris has sunk and is going downstream, the ducks also have to sink and go downstream in pursuit of my mom. So now they are submerged looking for food acquisition. They see Iris going downstream. They acquire Iris. They go smashing through the surface of Rock Creek, triumphant with a chunk of my mom in their beak, which they vigorously work down their long necks using gravity and precise throat muscle manipulation. And Iris goes into the digestive tract. Then they'll go, well, how about some brandy? They go, more. So it's a duck riot. Meanwhile, the bereaved at the shore are horrified. And they are feeding a dead woman to a bunch of innocent ducks. So they start yelling at the ducks, no, no, false flag, abort, abort. You're eating the acid remains of an abusive alcoholic who lived for way too long. Stop it. Maybe hoping the ducks will start Heimliching one another. Thinking that with English I can lodge it with waterfowl. And all the ducks see is the cessation of food distribution. And I don't know if they get resentful, but they're on to bigger and better things like whang, and they fly away because they got places to be. And this is the great final mystery of the iris. Where did she really end up? Because as you know, food in, food out. And so the ducks are on the wing and nature calls and they drop from their butt. Down through the air goes fecal matter mixed with my mother onto the windshield of some guy going down to K Street to screw you even harder than he did last year. And he sees the bird droppings on his windshield, bloody birds, and he turns on his windshield wipers, and my mom goes sailing through the air to be run over by another angry capitalist going downtown. So Iris is like driven downtown, probably kind of near the government building she toiled away in for like 35 years during her professional life. But it will always be a mystery as to where Iris ended up. And so, between knocking on doors stark naked, saying I'm being held hostage, to going through a duck, I would have to conclude, a life well lived. Thank you. So that happened. I told you what it was about. And so, as I told you about an hour and 50 minutes ago, that I used to live in Los Angeles, and I was there for 40 years, and so I'm now in Tennessee, and I actually quite like it, even though when you look at the newspapers and see the news, like one state will do something really, really stupid. Like, what's the state that has that crazy woman in the Senate that has that televangelist hair? Like, books are scary, and science is wrong, and trans people are bad, and no more drag shows. Tennessee! And every single time, like, a state does something really awful, it's always Tennessee. Like, why can't Texas do something dumb? It's always Tennessee. And like, the first year I lived there, I'm like, no! And now I'm just like, my red state home. Don't you love them? Please don't shoot me. And so, when I lived in Los Angeles, I lived there for 40 years. An East Coast guy, moved to the West Coast to be in a band, and I ended up living there. And the last house I ever had there was an ugly block of concrete, and it sat on the LA housing market for about a year and a half. It was so ugly, no one wanted it. I saw it, like, oh yeah. I said, I'll buy this, and the realtor literally hugged me. She was so sick of this place. No one wanted it, but I wanted it. Why? Because it's an ugly chunk of concrete surrounded by a huge retaining wall with a skinny, narrow driveway that goes steeply downhill. At the bottom of the driveway is 2 iron gates, which will keep me protected from stalkers, home invaders, and burglars, of which I have had all 3 bedeviling my life since I went away to be a guy in a band. And I've had people camping out in my driveway, people singing songs to me, like at like 3 in the morning, Henry, like, no! Because I'm not a simple person, I'm a screwed up person, but I want to do one thing over and over and over again. I just want to work. I live alone. I don't go to the disco. I don't want to make trouble. I just want to eat, work out, make things that people might like. Some dopey book, a radio show, stories for the stage. That's all I want to do. And I just want to live alone to be able to do that. As you can tell, I'm fairly tightly wound. So I sleep between 30 minutes and 4 hours a night. I just want to have a place that is so like protective of me that I can do that and keep working until next November when I die and things get better once I collapse. And so I've been living in this place surrounded by tall walls. I've up-armored some of the doors. I ripped out the fancy wood and like French glass and had like camel dung brown protective doors custom built and put in at great expense so I can feel safe, because I am trying to meet American crime statistics halfway. That is to say, it's a pretty tough country, but of the 90 countries I've been to, it's still my favorite. But I don't want to have a gun in the house. I don't want the guns of Navarone. I don't want a bazooka. I don't want an attack dog and a security detail. I just want to have a house that reeks of deterrence. So if a bad guy looks at my house, I'm going to burglarize this house. No, I'm not, and they'll just leave me alone. That's all I want to do is work. It's not about fame, it's not about money, it's just about like effort and like getting the idea and finishing the damn thing, taking something from the mind and making it a thing. Like, I meant this, a book that 8 people read. But like, that's my mission, and it's a cool mission, I'm into it. And so that's me, and I've been living in this place for about 10 years at that point, and like behind big walls, no one can get to me. It's a couple of Februarys ago, 3:30 in the morning. I'm fully clothed, completely awake, laptop is down, I'm sitting in the darkness with my back against the wall, sitting on my bed, unable to sleep. And so I hear a sound outside my house that I've never heard before. My little bedroom is on top of the garage. It sounds like a human is outside punching or kicking my garage door. I get out of bed, I look down, there's a man punching my garage door. My body goes cold, my heart rate elevates, and I realize this is the sum and total of all my nightmares. I bought this place to be left alone. That guy got over that wall or that gate, and he's punching my garage door. Like, what's going on? So I quickly inventory this guy. Let's see, about 5'11", 170 some pounds, like 19 to 21 years of age, Caucasian male, dark windbreaker, jeans, backpack, and a cell phone. One hand is holding a phone, the other one's kind of casually punching my garage door. Like, what are you doing, you weirdo? He abandons his pursuit of beating up my garage door and goes to my front door and starts ringing the doorbell and politely knocking on the front door. Like, you're not a burglar, but you sure enough are weird. You're interesting. And so I realized I gotta call the cops. And I don't love or hate cops. I just want them to do their job and not kill people unnecessarily. But I have to call the cops. And why? Because if this guy's a burglar, he's going to see he's not getting into my house. It's been up armored to great expense. And he'll somehow get over the wall. And what if he hikes up the road to my neighbor's house? And I know there's 2 kids and 2 adults in that house. What if he finds a door or window and he gets in there and he injures or kills my neighbors? And because why? Because I didn't call the cops. And like, he might get in there anyway, but at least I can make an attempt to look out for my neighbors. And this is one of my many efforts to make the century end better than it began. To look out for people I might not ever meet. And in Los Angeles, you rarely meet your neighbors. And I've been living next to these people for many, many years. And there's a rumor there's people in that house, but I've never met them because in California, we love everyone. And you know no one. Joan Didion was right about all of it. And so I run downstairs to the kitchen to grab the landline because my cell phone gets no reception in the narrow canyon in which I live. And I'm keeping my eye on this guy, and I call 911. And I get that typical static response. 911, what's your emergency? And I inform them there's a man knocking on my door at 3:30 in the morning. Did you invite him? I'm like, you're funny. No. And so I said, can you send 2 of LA's finest to bundle this man up and take him away? Sir, we're overburdened tonight. A lot of dead bodies on the streets of Los Angeles. That's going to be between 30 minutes and 17 hours. If anything escalates, please call back. And so I realize I'm going to have to wait around for a while, but I need to open the gate at the bottom of the driveway to let law enforcement in should they choose to grace me with their presence, which means I have to go to my car and get the clicker. That's not a plan. So I run to the garage and I disengage the circuit, which goes to the gate. And so when you disengage the circuit, the gate thinks that there's been a power outage in the canyon and it opens as a default to let you out or let law enforcement arrest you in. So I can hear the 2 mighty gates opening, little motors pushing them open, big yawning sound. I run up to the bedroom and watch the gates open. So I want to see his reaction. So I figured if he's a burglar, he's going to see the gates open and he'll conclude, homeowner's up, 911 has been called, law enforcement's on the way, I better run. And there's an easy way out, open gates, and I want to go to jail. And so he's going to do that, right? He doesn't. He watches the gate open, looks up at the house, looks at my car for like a minute, which was completely weird, picks up his backpack, and casually walks down the driveway halfway and sits down. About 35 minutes later, I see 1 cop car coming up the narrow canyon road. By the time I'm out at the top of the driveway looking down with my hands up, because I don't want to catch multiple 9mm slugs in my upper center mass just because I own a home in Hollywood, 1 cop is in front of the car waiting for the homeowner, me, and the other cop has the young man against the wall, handcuffed, going through his pockets. And so I go, good morning, law enforcement. I am the homeowner. I am unarmed. And they look at me and they see the old man pants and the salsa stains on my shirt, and they conclude he's not a danger to anything. You can approach, sir. Please put your hands down. Putting my hands down as commanded, going towards front pants pockets with nothing in them but sadness, glint, and memories. No need to overshare, sir. Please approach. So I'm in front of 1 cop, but I'm looking over here at the cop who's dealing with the guy. And so the cop goes through the man's front right pocket and pulls out what looks like a card of some kind. He's looking at the card and looking at the guy. And I conclude that's got to be photo ID. And the cop says to the young man, so, it's okay to jump over someone's wall at 3:30 in the morning in Finland? That's okay? And the young man goes, no, it's not. So you think it's okay to do that in the United States of America? And the young man says, Henry invited me. And both cops look at me. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to know this guy. And I said, officers, I don't know this guy. I don't think I've ever seen him before in my life. So what are my options? And the cop in front of me said, you got 2 options, sir. You can have him arrested for trespassing. and we'll keep him in handcuffs, and we'll take him downtown to the Twin Towers holding facility, and we'll put him in a box with a whole bunch of scary men, and he'll be there for like a 12 to 24-hour hold. He will be able eventually to bond out. That's not our department. Or you can let him go with a warning, and we'll take him to any address he so chooses, and we'll let him go, but we'll tell him if you come back to the property and hop over the wall, and the homeowner calls us and we catch you, you will go to jail. So, citizen, what are you going to do? And again, as I've told you 800 times tonight, I want the century to end better than it began. And that is, to me, to acknowledge human complexity. So what if this guy is not a bad guy? What if his brain is zigging when it should be zagging? What if it is his first night in the United States of America, and he hops over my wall and he knocks on my door, and for that, he is handcuffed, taken downtown, thrown into a big holding cell with a bunch of really scary men who will no doubt rip him limb from limb, and this time tomorrow, he will be completely destroyed, a shell of himself with like 60 more years of life. That is not for me to do to a young person. So I just have to take the higher road, which in my opinion I did, and say, you gotta let him go with a warning. And both cops look at me, are you sure? And their faces said, we know things you don't know. I said, yeah, you gotta let him go with a warning, because I'm not gonna put a young person in jail because he had the temerity to knock on my front door. That's, in my opinion, punching down. Can't do it. And so they go, okay, and they take him and his backpack and they leave. I go to the garage, I close the gate, I go back to my bedroom, and I just sit there for the rest of the night, unable to sleep. Around 9:30 the following morning, the sun is out, no clouds in the sky, and I'm sitting, yet fully clothed, with a landline sitting on the table next to me. I fall asleep. My head lists to the side. At 10:25, less than an hour later, I'm awoken by the sound of my doorbell ringing. And the first thing I did was I went into my Fox News lizard brain. I should have had you killed when I had the chance. I'll never be that naive again. And I look out the window. That's not how I think, really. But I looked out the window, and there he is with his backpack. I'm like, damn, man, the tenacity of this guy. And so I called 911 again, and they remember me from 0330 hours. You're the guy with the guy from Finland. I am that man, ma'am. So can you? Yes, we've got LAPD coming towards you right now. A lot of death in the city. Will be, I know, 30 minutes and 15,000 hours. That's right. If anything escalates, I call you back. Click. And so I grab the landline, I put it in my pocket, I run downstairs and stand on the other side of the front door to listen to this man knock and hit the doorbell. And after about 3 minutes of that, there's no sound whatsoever. I'm like, he's left. And so 3 minutes of silence later, I hear him on the second floor. There's a big deck on the second floor, jumping up and down. It's like, how did he get up there? My theory is, he went up the metal stairs to the side of the property, through a room that holds a water heater, slid down a clay tile roof. If you go that way, you fall to your death. But if you go over a low wall over here, voila, you're on the deck. 2 ways into the house. You can try to get through the camel dung brown steel security door I had custom built that goes to my bedroom, or you can try and gain entry through a hard pane of tempered glass that is going to a small room with gym gear in it. And if he touches that glass, it will shatter into tiny little pieces. He'll be in that room, down the stairs, choking me to death right next to my beloved turntable. So I realized I probably have about a minute and a half left to live. I'm in fairly good shape, but I'm an old man and he's young. And so youth will prevail over an old bastard like me. So I'm going to be choked out and die in my living room. And I hate to tell you what I thought, but it's hilarious and pathetic, so I have to tell you. The first thing I thought after I acknowledged I'm about to be killed was, I don't want to be killed by a European. And what's up with that? Because I've been all over Europe. I think it's fantastic. And so maybe if it was a German, like death by German guy, it's pretty kick-ass. Death by Russian guy, whoa. Or like death by Chechen rebel. Hey man, like death by Finnish guy. And I'm not trying to make fun of Finland. I love Finland. But like, he just seems like a delightful young man hopping from Airbnb to yoga session to rave. Like, and I'm gonna stop off and I'm gonna, and then back to the fjords. Really? Like, it's the final humiliation. And you'll read about it on rollingstone.com. The legendary singer of Black Flag has been choked to death in his living room. And you'll go to the local record store and you'll see 4 boneheads ahead of you in a line going to the trade-in section, holding my entire recorded catalog. Why are you trading those records in? Because Henry Rollins is dead. But isn't that when you play the records? No. What do you mean? He was killed by a Finnish guy. He died like a little bitch. And the guy behind the counter like, We're not even taking these records anymore. We've got 300,000 of them in the warehouse and back. No one likes the city guy anymore. Why? Because the Finnish guy, and he died. Anyway, I'm getting ready for the final humiliation of my life. And so, luckily for me, the guy gives up on his pursuit of getting into the house, and there's 3 minutes of silence. He's back at the front door, which kind of snaps me out of my reverie. I run to the garage, I hit the circuit breaker, the gates open, I run up to my bedroom and look for him, and he's gone. And so about half an hour later, 2 cop cars come roaring up my driveway. 4 cops get out, guns drawn, as intense as a cardiac arrest, and they're running around the property. Clear, clear, clear. Now I'm on that deck, looking down at them, and they're looking up at me. Good morning, centurions. Everything's funny to me. And so I've got my hands way over my head. Sir, you can put your hands down. Not looking to get into an argument with you, officer, but as you can see, the retaining wall is well above my waistline, which means you have literally no idea what's going on in my pants right now. That did not land exactly how I pitched it. What I'm trying to impart, officer, is you do not know if I have a weapon or not, which I don't! So how about for our combined safety, I just keep reaching for the sky. And one of them said, that's well advised. I said, look, I apologize that you didn't get him. I would never send you on a fool's errand. He was here. And, they believed me. And one of them said, sir, you did the right thing. If you see the guy on or near your property, you do not talk to this man. You do not leave your house and touch this man. You do not engage with him whatsoever. You call 911. We will be here, and eventually we're going to get him. Got it, citizen? Got it, officer. All right, then. You have a great American goddamn day. And they get in their cars and they leave. And so I am now back in my living room, having closed the gate, wondering what I'm going to do with the rest of my day. And it became clear, I'm going to prepare myself in my home for invasion, because no doubt he's coming back. I now need a command center, which will be the living room couch, because it's really comfortable. And there's a table in front of it where one can plot and plan for invasion. It's like, I need gear to prepare for invasion. And the gear, which I don't really know, I have things in accoutrement, but I need gear on that day. So the gear is going to be a bottle of mineral water to remain hydrated for my second night of no sleep, and a flashlight for 3 times on the hour perimeter checks of the property, and my laptop. Now, why would I need a laptop computer when I should be sitting silently as a stone, waiting for the sound of breaking glass and sliding glass doors and invasion? And it sucks to tell you this, but it's true. The older I get, the more implicit it is for me to win every single time on eBay, because now I'm at a part of my life where if I don't win that one particular damn 7-inch pressed on the Chiswick label of the year of 1981 in Germany, I might not ever get it, ever. And so, even though I might die, I still need to beat the 4 miserable bastards I've been bidding against for the last 20-some years. We are 5 loser men. I'm the only one of us who does not live in his mom's basement. And so we are 5 loser men who think that if we have enough damn 7-inches, that we will not only regain our youth, but the Grim Reaper will see our record collection, be so duly impressed, he'll give us a breather. None of this is true. And so I hate their guts, and they hate mine. They hope my record collection explodes into a river of flaming vinyl that goes into a sewer, and I wish the same on them. Because we've been bidding and losing and winning against each other for about 22 years. I hate them, and I want to win. So even though I'm being choked out, I will bid, and with my last twitch, I will pay PayPal, because I don't need to actually have the record. I just need to drink the tears of the 4 loser men. So, as rigor mortis is setting in, I still won, and somehow this is important to me. It's like, get ready for death and victory. Kind of intense. And so I rehearsed the perimeter check in broad daylight so I can have my moves in the dark, got the water ready, and I wait, and I wait. And I sit on the couch listening, and the hours go by, and nothing happens. Midnight happens, and it turns into February 13th, a date that means nothing to you whatsoever. It was my 60th birthday. I spent my 60th birthday sitting in the dark, sipping water, clutching a flashlight, waiting to be killed. It was utterly pathetic. And the hours go by, and nothing happens. And the sun comes up, and the spell is broken. And the first relevant, profound emotion I had as a newly minted 60-year-old was rejection. Think about it. The guy has blown me off. I thought we had a thing going. You come over, I call the cops. You come over, I call the cops, which describes any number of Tinder relationships anywhere in the country. And so maybe 60 was the line that he cannot cross. Like, you're gonna stalk Henry Rollins, right? No. Well, wait a minute, you were all into it 2 days ago. He turned 60. What does that mean? It's just a line. I don't stalk the elderly, you know? He'll be dead by April. I just leave him alone. Because, like, soon enough, like, oh, that's kind of merciful. Yeah, I'm gonna go after younger prey. And so maybe the young man is bored of me now. Or maybe he took his cell phone, hiked down the road to Hollywood Boulevard, and it came back to life, and he did some surfing on the internet, and he quickly found out he's in a target-rich environment for notable people from MTV to stalk. And why do we want to stalk some ailing punk rock coelacanth from the last century who had 4 nanoseconds of MTV fame in the summer of 1994 with a song that took 5 minutes to write and a lifetime to live down, when Flea was 4 traffic lights down the street? Like, everyone likes his band. So now, the guy is crouched in the weeds outside of like 5 layers of German razor wire around Flea's compound, waiting for Flea's helicopter to land from his last trip to Trader Joe's. Whatever! Anyway, I feel like a jilted gal not getting to go to the prom. I'm like, you've abandoned me. And so for the next 2 days, I'm eating weird food at the bottom of the freezer, falling asleep while I'm making coffee, trying to remain vigilant and like pining for my date, and the guy doesn't show up. So I feel rejected, I feel really old, and I realize this is the beginning of a future of obscurity. Like, no one wants you anymore. I mean, we loved you in the 80s and 90s and parts of the 2000s, then you turned 60. Bye-bye. Like, no one even wants to stalk me anymore. So like, so about 2 days into this, I am very angry about being incarcerated in my home, and I said, screw it. I'm gonna leave the house today in an exercise of absurdity. I'm gonna do an errand that doesn't need doing. Why don't you go to the supermarket? That makes too much sense. I'm going to take an ancient punk rock poster, of which I have many, and drop it off with my pal Sam the framer so we can frame it archivally. So at 12:45 in the afternoon, I call my pal Sam. He's been framing things for me for decades. I go, Sam, it's your pal Henry. May I fall by your place at like 1 p.m. and drop off a poster to be framed? He said, absolutely. Hit the buzzer. I'll know it's you, and I'll let you in. I grab my wallet, my car keys, the poster, and my cell phone. I go to every window of my house and look for the guy. He doesn't seem to be on the property. I leave the house and lock it up, run to my car so he can't tackle me and kill me. I get in my car and I jam down to the framing place. About a 7-minute drive. I hit the buzzer. Sam lets me in. We roll out this bit of punk rock antiquity, and we're talking about acid-free environments and the like, when my cell phone starts vibrating against my leg. I do not dislike Homo sapiens. I'm quite on our side, rooting wildly from the sidelines. I just don't know many people. I don't endeavor to make many human friendships. I'm just not good at them. I know my lane, and I'm dribbling madly inside it. So when my cell phone rings, it's either a spam call or the Heidi to lecture, hector, and emasculate me. So I pull up the phone and says, Heidi. I'm like, well, this is gonna hurt, because she's always yelling. So I go, hey, Heidi, hoping my friendliness will somewhat neutralize the anger that no doubt is going to come forth. Henry! Here we go again. Henry, where are you? I'm at Sam's. We're looking at old punk rock poster. Henry, ADT just called. The alarm company that Heidi hired, because she runs my life, that Heidi hired several years ago to go into my house and adorn it with bells, whistles, sensors, and alarms. And so if Windows 6 starts rattling when the Santa Ana winds come through, sensor number 14 starts going off, and ADT calls Heidi. It should call you, you're the homeowner, but I'm the idiot who lives inside the house. And so they call Heidi. You're the smart one. Window number 6 is rattling. Oh, it's the Santa Ana's. Turn off the sensor. Me? I don't even know where my shoes are. I'm a moron. So Heidi's the smart one. So it's life by Heidi. So ADT always calls her. So on this day, they call Heidi. Henry, ADT just called him. The motion detector in your living room has just been activated. The guy is in your house. Law enforcement is on the way. What are you going to do? I said, Heidi, I'm going to leave right now. Drive back to the house, go in it, and deal with this guy in the living room. She said, Henry, no! You'll kill him! Henry, no! Kill him! Like she's told me again and again and again. I've got Heidi exactly where I want her. Emotionally disturbed and slightly off balance. I can use this. Heidi, I never would have considered killing him until you told me to. Henry! Until you commanded me to kill him. Henrietta! Heidi, I will kill. Henrietta! I hung up. Oh, she's mad now. Oh, it felt so good. I put the phone away. I go, Sam, I'm leaving. He said, but you just got here. And that's true. But look, Sam, I've got to go. I've got a stalker. He said, oh, that's too bad. I go, well, it is what it is. So look, I'm going to leave. Well, what are you going to go do? He's in my living room right now. I'm going to go in there and deal with him. And Sam is horrified. Oh, Henry, no. You don't talk to these people. You don't touch these people. You call 911 and you let LAPD handle this. I said, you know what? A uniformed professional basically told me the same thing a few days ago. I'm done with letting the pros handle my life. I'm going to go deal with this guy by myself. Henry, no! Sam, yes. So look, man. One of two things is going to happen later today. I might call you in between 20 to 40 minutes from now to try to reschedule today's appointment. And if you have time, I will come in later this afternoon in these clothes, covered in dried blood, brain matter, and bits of human skull, which means I have prevailed. Or you may never see or hear from me again. Don't worry, I'm not ghosting you, bro. It means I have been killed. Henry, please don't die. I'm not planning on dying. I've got a lot of things on my to-do list. However, human life is very fragile. I mean, I've seen it go. Like, it's not much to kill someone or to be killed, and I think we humans are comporting ourselves wildly incorrectly, and we should be more merciful and empathetic towards one another. But be that as it may, I'm going to go either kill or be killed. Henry, please stay. Like, no, I can't stay. I'm going to leave. So look, Sam, I might die today, and if that's the case, and I'm dead serious, Sam, keep the poster. He's like, what? What am I going to do with it? Sam, look, you're a framer. Frame it. Okay, what do I do with it? Frame it, put it against that wall right there as tribute. Underneath the framed poster, build a little shelf. What do I do with the shelf? You call your pal Heidi May in a couple of weeks from now, and you ask her to bring you half an amber plastic pill vial full of my ashen remains. What do I do with it? You put it on the little shelf. It's a curiosity. People will come in and ask what that is. What do I tell them? You say, you want to know what's in there? Pick up the pill vial, put it up to your ear, and shake it. And they'll say, what? Look, put the damn thing up to your ear, shake it, do it now. Okay. What is this? The ashen remains of Henry Rollins, a black flag. Whoa! This is pretty cool. $4.99. Sold America. I go, make some money, Sam. They're like, Henry, you're insane. Bingo! And so I go, Sam, I'm leaving. If I never see you again, it's been real, man. So I get in my car, and I'm going back towards my home, and about half a mile from my driveway, I see the guy walking down the road on my left. And so I pull into the oncoming lane, because that's smart, and I lean my potato head out the window. They told me no talking, so of course I'm talking. I had no material prepared. And so as an improv, I said, hey, Finland boy, come here! And he points at himself. I'm like, no, the other guy from Finland, come here! And I'm pointing at the passenger door. Get in! And he walks up in front of like, run me over. I'm like, get in. And he opens the door and looks at me, get in! And he gets in and closes the door. And the first thing I said after he's in my car, I got right in his face. I said, please put your seatbelt on. Safety. He puts the seatbelt on, and now we're driving up towards my driveway, about a minute and a half out. And so I need a plan. Here's the plan. We're gonna hit my driveway, I'll hit the clicker, the gate will open. I'll make a U-turn in my parking lot cement front yard, get out of the car, keep my eye on him, and wait for law enforcement to come. This is gonna work. As we're driving up, I realize it's been about 5 to 8 seconds where I have not spoken to him after the directive I gave him that he obeyed, and good conduct should be rewarded. And so I attempt to make low-impact Uber taxi talk with him. With a big fake smile on my face, I go, so, you broke into my house. And he went, yes. And that's all he says. I'm like, I'll rephrase. You broke into my house. And he looks at me and says, are you hard of hearing? I'm like, oh, son, not today. Not today. And I asked him why. And he said, because you're rich and you can afford to lose a few things. And, you know, communism. I love a non sequitur. I said, did you just say, and you know, communism? He went, yeah. And I wonder, what kind of communism is he talking about? Stalinist communism, Marxist communism, Fox News communism. It's the great unknown. What is it? I don't know, but Joe Biden embodies it perfectly. He's also a socialist too. Define socialism. Well, it's being woke. You're awake. Well, you're a commie. Define it. Well, you know, I asked you. Okay, spell it. Okay, K. And there you go. And so there's no time to have that conversation because there's the driveway. We pull into the driveway, I click the clicker, and the gate won't open. I'm like, damn it, man, really? I look at my cell phone, and there's no reception. And so I've got a cell phone that won't work, a gate that will not be opened by the clicker, and there's a maniac strapped into my economy car. Like, I got a lot of this wrong. And so I back out of the driveway. I'm now driving up the hill. What's the plan? I don't have one anymore. And if I keep driving that way, in about 11 minutes, if I get all the traffic lights to go my way, I'll be pulling into gate 4 at Warner Brothers in Burbank. That's officially not a plan. So I turn the car around. I'm driving back down past the house thinking, what do I do now? So I'm keeping my eyes on my phone to see when it comes back to life and keeping my eyes on his hand so he doesn't grab the wheel and try to kill us. And right about where I picked him up, the cell phone comes back to life in time for me to make a right turn into a clay driveway that goes to a ravine that the city clears out a couple of times a year. And so the plan is I'll pull in, I'll turn the car off, I'll get out of the car, keep him in my eye line, and call 911 to redirect law enforcement from my driveway to this new location from a different number that I've been calling on before using the cell phone, not the landline. So I got to do a lot of mansplaining. And so I'm getting ready to do that. I have the car stopped. I'm about to get out. And the young man leaves ahead of me, looks out of my window and points. And he goes, I've been living at the top of the hill up there in the woods. My backpack is up there. Should I go get it? I went, why not? And we get out of the car together and we walk side by side across the street. He goes running up the side of the hill. He comes back minutes later with the backpack. I said, hey, why don't you let me hold on to that for you? He gives me the backpack. We go to the car, I open the trunk, I put it in, I close the trunk, I open the passenger door, please get in. He gets in, good boy. And so now I can call 911 with this thrilling update. 911, what's your emergency? Hi. My name is Henry, a now frequent content sharer with the 911 chat line, but I've been calling from a different number and a different location. Give me the details, sir. Well, if you punch in this number, there's the report. You're the guy with the guy from Finland. I am the man with the man from Finland, ma'am. I've got an update. Lay it on me, sir. Ma'am, I've got him. What do you mean, I've got him? He's in my car. Is he in the trunk? No. Then where is he? Front seat, passenger side. And I'll never forget, she asked me this. Is he handcuffed? And I told the truth. No. But I was thinking, yes. Yes, he's handcuffed. Because I always drive around in Los Angeles with a pair of handcuffs in my go bag, with my duct tape and my roofies, when I go dating in the Beverly Center parking garage every weekend, you maniac. And so I said, no. Then how did you get him in there? And this is a plan that I came up with, but I cannot divulge sources and methods. So I get away from the car to have a moment with her. I yelled out of the window, hey, Finland boy, come here. And he got in the car. She said, that worked. I go, it totally worked. It was an improv. I think someone on this call needs an HBO 60-minute stand-up special because that was total gold. And she kind of comes back to her senses. Sir, you have done everything wrong. I need you to run away from your car right now. But what do you mean? Sir, is he still in the car? Yep. Sir, run! Run! I said, hell no, man. These colors don't run. I'm going to hell for that one. Anyway. She said, sir, there's nothing more I can do for you. I've redirected law enforcement. They're going to come to you. If anything escalates, please call back. And she hangs up on me. And so I realized it's been about 9 to 11 minutes since I last had a wonderful discussion with Heidi. And so I call Heidi. Henry, what's going on? Heidi, I've got him. And she yells, Henry, no! You killed him! Henry yells so loud, I know the guy can hear her because the phone is here, he's there, and I look, and like he's looking at me, and I'm looking in, and I realize this is a comedic moment I will not pass up. So I get in the guy's face, well, Heidi, I haven't killed him yet. But murder is on my mind. And he goes, no! And he opens the door, tries to get out. I close with my hip. He opens it, I close with my hip. Big Mama can't keep doing it all afternoon. So I have to come up with a way to soften and demoralize him, to make him sit like a model of compliance waiting for LAPD. And it could be hours. And so what can I do? At that moment, I remembered my early days in the band Black Flag when I migrated from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles. Now, being the new guy in the band, I was put on flyer duty. And that duty was get this bucket of wheat paste and this bag of flyers with an offensive Raymond Pettibone drawing on it, and you go up to light poles in Southern California and you shellac them at a light pole with the wheat paste, whack the flyer on there and shellac the outside of the flyer with more wheat paste, and the warm California sun bakes the paper onto the metal and no one can get it off with their fingernails in a trial of 1,000 years, to borrow a phrase from Lincoln. But the P.S., don't get caught by the cops. I am not good at multitasking. I am good at doing one thing really intensely over and over and over again from my years in the minimum wage working world. So I will put up flyers one after another, and I completely forget to look for the cops. I'm on flyer 3 at a light pole that still exists at La Cienega and Holloway, catty corner to a 7-Eleven that also still exists. And so I'm putting the flyer up, and and a cop gets out of his car. He gets this far from my face and proceeds to yell at me with such volume and violence, I forgot how to breathe. In LAPD training school, it is called command presence, where the alpha dogs get out of their car, they go up to a scene, and they start yelling everyone into a state of compliance. Get on the goddamn ground! Like, even witnesses dive on the ground. They're utterly terrified. This guy is doing that to me. Where'd you get these goddamn flies? I don't know. A man gave them to me. And maybe $1 a year to put them on light poles. Who's Black Flag? I don't know. They're bad. I hate their guts. Like, he takes the flag. Go back with your wheat paste wherever you came from, you pussy. I'll kill you if I ever see you. I'm so sorry. I want to scoop ice cream. And I go back to SSD, and my bandmates are looking at me. So did you put up the flyers? I've been gone like 8 minutes. No, God took them away from me. He yelled at me. Here's some more flyers, you pussy. Get back out there. And that started my life of crime. And so on that day, I was emotionally impacted by the cop yelling at me, and I realized I could have emotional impact on my new audience to be in the band Black Flag. So from that day going forward, I started to refine and work on my yelling technique. And it has been decades, and I'm still working on my yelling technique. And so at this point now in 2023, it's not even a brag or a boast. It is a statement of fact. I am really, really good at yelling. You can call me Old Yeller. And so I tell Heidi, I'm going to utilize command presence. Talk to me on the main streets of Los Angeles in the early 1980s in the age of Reagan to neutralize and demoralize the man sitting in my car. Henry, no yelling! Like, really? You're very authoritarian. No killing, no yelling. I don't get to have any fun whatsoever. Henry! If you yell, you could emotionally scar him for the rest of his life. Which is true. And that's the thing. We humans retain trauma, and we even pass it on. And so if I yell at this young man, I could scar him for life. Oh, what are you? I don't think that's a light issue. I don't want to mess this guy up, but I really need him to stay in the car, and I'm really good at yelling. So I said, Heidi, it's called acting, darling, and I'm going in a 3. I do, Henry, no! And I turn to get this guy says, you're going to jail today! I hope you like the food. He's like, Henry, no yelling! So I'm yelling and getting yelled at. Heidi, take 2, 3, 2. Henry, no! And the cell phone call gets cut off. And to this day, she insists I hung up on her because I'm born rude. I did not hang up on her. The Canadian actually cut the phone off at that moment. It was a perfectly comedically placed cutoff. It's like, well, that's that. I put the phone in my pocket. I turned to yell at the guy. And he's gone. He's gone! He's disappeared. He's hopped over to the driver's side. He's now behind the wheel, trying to get out through the driver's side door. In a tribute to the Benny Hill show, I go into the car to chase him through. And so I am now in the passenger seat, holding on to him with everything I've got. And with one hand, I'm holding on to whatever I can get of his windbreaker. And the other hand, I'm holding on to bits of his short brown hair. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. He's utterly terrified. And he says the second non sequitur of the afternoon, you're just like John Gotti. What does that even mean? And as I'm pondering that, he slaps his arm and moves his head and and breaks free of me. And he jumps out the driver's side door. And I figure he's going to go left and a left and go to the trunk, open it, grab his backpack and abscond, which means I have to jump out of the passenger side door and run that way. So I've got the key fob in my right rear pocket. If I'm not far enough away from the car will think that he is me and give him entry. And so he leaps out of one side, I leap out of the other, and that exact second, we look like an adult male homosexual Southern California couple breaking up for real this time. And so usually these breakups are contractual. The 48 hours of fun has come to an end, and the money has been shifted, and the old man with the experience and the connections parts with the young man with the looks and the stamina. If you want me to come back to your place again, tap your phone and I will appear with pizza. And that's another weekend in Los Angeles. And there's usually a breakup out of a Lamborghini or a Porsche, but you know, I'm a punk rock guy, so we're breaking up out of a thoughtfully considered economy car. And so he goes his way and I go mine. And so I go running that way, he runs to the trunk. By the time he gets there, I'm way over there. He tries to open the trunk, it will not open because I'm way over there. He figures it out immediately. His voice drops several registers and he looks at me, "Give me my backpack." I'm like, uh-oh, this just got real. So he comes running at me and somehow he knows the key fob is in my right rear pocket. So we're on our feet, basically brawling, and he's trying to get to my pocket to get the keys. So I'm blocking and I'm pushing. And I don't know if you've ever groped a man, but you can get a fairly accurate read as to a man's muscle quotient and muscle density by grabbing any one muscle group and giving it a squeezy squeeze. And so I had the man's pectoral muscle group in my mitt as I pushed him back so I copped a feel. And I was like, oh no, we are 1/3 my age in an amazing physical health, which means he's going to kill me. And so I push him back and I can feel my stamina plummeting because I'm old. And he looks at me and he says, "You just turned 60. You're too old for this." I'm like, oh no, I am so screwed. And he comes at me again and I block and I push and I realize I got 1 or 2 more of these left in me. And deterrence is not deterring this guy. So it's for me to flip the script and go on the offense. And so I do. So we square up, he starts moving towards me, and I let loose with a left fist that leaves the station at the speed of Congress. There it goes. You're adults. You've been to a bar. You've seen 2 idiot men fight each other, but they can't fight. And the punches take days to get to the other guy. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, spring break. That's the punch I threw at this guy because I'm not that good at it. So the punch takes his time meandering towards this man's head, and it misses him by about that much. And I think the fist made a sound as it whistled by. I think it went, whee! But there's some value as to the man's reaction to the reality that I really tried to punch him in his face. And I notice his body posture changes. His shoulders collapse forward, his head kind of lurches forward, which says to me, someone's never been in a street fight before. Oh goody, I've been in them all over the world. Thanks, Black Flag! And so I let loose with the right fist that leaves the station with far more velocity and consideration. And it connects solidly and beautifully with the man's face. Pow! And I'm not one who gets off on himself. I don't look in the mirror like, oh my God, you sexy, sunken cheek wreck of a man. You and Iggy Pop and Keith Richards. How the hell do we keep doing it? Ladies, what's important is that we keep doing it. I never do that. And whenever I shave, the lizard man is dragging a razor across his face. Because if the lizard man doesn't shave every other day, lizard man has bright white bristle exploding from his face, and he looks like the uncle who's always lost in the park. And so I'm not high on my own supply, but every great once in a while I do something. And for at least 8 or 9 seconds, I am absolutely smitten with myself. And at that moment, I was. Because arguably, the old man just knocked the crap out of the young one. Oh, I'm so into you right now. It won't last long, so cop a feel. And so I'm kind of digging myself, and I look at him, and he's looking at me, and that's when I noticed for the first time during this whole thing, he is wearing a light blue mask. I touch my face. I'm wearing a mask. Think about this. We are not social distancing. We are not washing our hands between physical encounters, but we are both observing basic COVID protocols. Do you understand what this means? It means that this is, right now, literally the most ridiculous, pathetic fight in the history of Southern California. Because a fight to the death is what's going to happen. But the spread of a virus that informs a global pandemic is frowned upon. So I might kill you today, but you will not be infected by me as best I can, because that is just way too low. So we are these two utterly ridiculous men, one old, one young, huffing and puffing behind. Now that's what I noticed, a trickle of blood coming down his neck from underneath his mask, going into the part of his t-shirt, and I become transfixed at the trail of blood. He sees me looking at him, he's like, and he sees the blood. I'll never forget this. He looks at me and he says, "You're smiling." But he couldn't see my face because of the mask, but my eyes were all scrunched up, and I didn't say anything because he totally busted me. I was smiling so hard, my entire face hurt. So I'm so into myself in that moment. But I also realized a 60-year-old man has just hit a 20-something. You know who's going to win this fight. So I've got like 5 more seconds of basking in my pugilistic sun, and then it'll be like death by Finnish guy next to my economy car. Super duper humiliation. And so I'm getting ready to die when 2 cop cars pull up, 4 cops get out, they run across the street and surround us. What the hell's going on here? And 2 cops take the young man to the other side of the street to get his side of the story. 2 cops get mine, they're writing everything down, and at one point, one of the cops yells at the 2 cops with me, "Hey, our guy says your guy attacked him." I looked across the street, I'm like, "Shut up!" The 2 cops with me already kind of digging me because I made a young man bleed, but now they see I can totally rock command presence. Fist bumps all around me. So now they really like me. So they take the young man away, and the 2 cops will be going, "All right, we got to go to your house now and make sure there's no one else in there and check for damages and do the report." So they follow me to the house. I give them the backpack, it's now evidence, and I click the clicker and the gate won't open. So I hop over the lowest part of the retaining wall and I run down to the end of the driveway to the gates to see what's going on. And there's a small box at the bottom of the driveway that basically answers the clicker's call. It's a little box full of wires and lights. And the young man's reached in there and ripped everything out, and that's why the gate won't open, because he disabled it. Which means I am now tasked with manually opening 2 massive steel gates with my bare hands. So as a joke, I put my palm against one of the gates and walk forward. It opens with no resistance whatsoever, like this, and you can push it with one finger. And so my gate is a perfect metaphor for Hollywood. It's like mere artifice. So I have the illusion of safety, and so your annoying nephew can open it from the street. Come on in, Vikings, pillage! And so the 2 cops see me opening a gate with my hand. They're fist bumping inside the car. They really like me now. And so now we're inside the house, and we're walking down the narrow wooden hallway that goes to the living room this way, and up the stairs to the bedroom, the gymnasium room up there. And so we all see glass coming down the stairs and making a trail into the living room, and it stops abruptly where the carpet starts. And the cops go, "Check all the windows." I go, "You don't need to. Here's what happened." He went over the wall, across the yard, up the stairs, through a room, down a roof, over a wall, across the deck, through a plate glass window, through a room, down the stairs, and he stopped there because that motion detector caught him. U-turn, stairs, room, deck, roof, room, stairs, wall, and I engaged with him a couple of minutes later. And I was like, "How'd you do that?" I go, "I live alone and I talk to myself all the time." And so, come with me. We go to the gymnasium room, and there's glass everywhere, and a cinder block in the middle of the room. Somehow the guy found a cinder block, put it through the window, and he got in. And so there's no one else in the place but the 3 of us. And so the only place the guy had time to do anything is the 3rd floor, where I've got a lot of rare ancient punk rock artwork, like original artwork from records you might own and enjoy. I have that artwork. He took some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen and smashed it to pieces. And so history is poorly served. And so I got a broken gate, a broken window, and broken stuff. And so minutes later, I'm in the kitchen with the 2 cops, and I'm giving them the answers to their questions, and they give me a version of the report, and I'm walking the 2 cops to the front door to let them out, when the older of the 2 cops squints and pans down. To look me in the eyes, you always have to lower yourself because I'm shorter than you think I'm going to be. And that's the look of, I've recognized this guy. And the guy freaks out. "Dude! Oh, dude, no way! Dude! Dude, no way! dude, you're a maniac. Dude, I can't believe I'm in your house. Dude, no way. And the young girl's like, dude, why are you calling this dude? They're like, dude, you know this dude is dude, I know you are. Dude, you're crazy. Dude, that is black flag, dude. That is black flag. The young girl's, oh, dude, no way. Dude, my grandfather loved you guys, dude. When it comes to, back in the day, like that is a thing, but I was actually there back in the day when you could see Husker Du for 25 cents. And the amps were powered by coal or oil, and the snow was horrible. It was very oppressive. 3 to 5 kids per song would die. And you take the body, throw it on the stage, and the band would keep playing, Don't Slip in the Blood. And the audience, there's Tesla and Einstein and Tom Waits, and it's really eclectic. Anyway, as the 2 young men are leaving, one of them says to me, hey, a detective will be calling soon, so don't miss that call. And a few hours later, a detective indeed calls me. Henry, I'm the detective on the case. So sorry about what happened. I've been talking to the young man all afternoon. He told me everything. Would you like the details? I said, absolutely. He goes, well, what do you know? I go, I know he's from Finland. That's all I know. He goes, okay, well, that is correct. So apparently, Henry, you go all over the world and stand on stages and talk at a high rate of speed for about 2 hours at a time without any notes or a glass of water. I'm like, yes, you did that in Finland in 2016 in Helsinki. The man was at the show. He loved it. Upon going home out of nowhere for the first time in his life, he starts hearing voices in his head of 2 varieties. The friendly voices say, hey, Henry's really cool. Save your money, get to Los Angeles, and hang out with him. But the angry voices say, Henry is saying untrue things about you, ruining your reputation all around town. Save your money. As soon as you can, get a plane ticket, get to Los Angeles, break into his house, and wreck everything you can. Which explains to a certain extent some of his behavior. Like when the gate opened and he didn't run, because he's not a criminal. His brain is zigging when it should be zagging. And so I went, wow, so let's see. Let me get this straight. He saved his money, went from Helsinki to Los Angeles, into a taxi and into my house. And then he says, no, here's the craziest part of the story, Henry. Think about it. You can't fly from any Scandinavian country into the United States right now because of COVID. The young man saved his money. He went from Helsinki, Finland to Mexico, hiked through the Mexican desert, got into the United States over the Mexico-Texas border, spent 2 days in Texas. Now you know he's crazy. And got on a series of freight trains, like a character out of a John Steinbeck novel, finds himself in San Diego, 90 miles south of Los Angeles, conveys himself to Los Angeles, finds your home address in Reddit, thanks, and here we are. And for at least a second and a half, I could not say anything. I was too busy being amazed. And why? Because this young man reminds me of me. Focus, discipline, tenacity, never lose sight of the objective. But I'm hungry, finish it, son! And so, yeah, he broke my gate. He broke my window. He smashed my stuff. I'm probably going to need a lawyer. Is there any silver lining in this cloud? There absolutely is. Think about it. Of all the ancient, still breathing punk rock coelacanths who are somehow still alive, and it's a target-rich environment, of all of them, he picked me, bitches. What happens to this guy now? He's in a lot of trouble. He's on at least 5 felony charges. They'll probably be able to make 1 to 3 of them stick. He's looking at years in prison, like 8 to 12 years in prison. I go, damn, that's really intense. He goes, yeah, well, he really did a lot of bad things. I go, okay, so what happens now? He goes, he's in jail. There's no bail for this. So he's downtown in the psych ward of Twin Towers, and you're going to need to get a criminal lawyer. And I said, are they expensive? And he went, no, between $10,000 and $30,000. I'm like, no! At that time, the anti-science gang, and there are millions of them all over the world, have been shutting down one tour for me after another. And an agent takes 100 years to book a tour. In one email, the entire tour goes away, and I get the email. Your European tour is gone, and we'll try again next year. Not next week, next year. And so there's that. And so there I am with no money. I said, but detective, I'm full of light and levity and laughter and humility, but I don't have any money. He said, that's really not my problem. And I said, that's so true. And so he hangs up, and I call the Heidi, because she's the smart one. And she hasn't enjoyed our last few phone calls. Anyway, I call Heidi, like, hey Heidi, what do you want? Heidi, I need a criminal lawyer. I already found you one. She's so smart. I go, how'd you do that? Heidi went to high school with a woman who became a member of LAPD, since retired, but she still has friends in the business. And one of these people is a criminal lawyer who's a fan of mine. And is going to give me that old school, old time, good time punk rock discount. It's going to be only between $10,000 to $12,000 and not 10 to 30. And I was worried. Anyway, a few days later, he calls me. Don't worry, Henry. I'm going to put this man in prison for 1,000,000 billion years. I said, you're the smart one. I'm barely out of high school. But could it be that in order to make this century end better than it began, we should look at the complexity of the human condition and conclude that even if someone stacks up multiple felony charges, incarceration is only punishment that has no cure. And maybe this person is beyond punishment because his brain is zigging when it should be zagging. And he doesn't need to be put into a cage full of mean men. He needs empathy and concern and drugs and therapy and housing and supervision. And maybe that is a better way forward. And I hear silence on the other end, which it's this guy going, my client's a pussy. Well, we'll take that under consideration. I go, it's worth an idea. Clanky Hanks, he's just disgusted with me. Anyway, you find out that LA County has concluded it's more financially prudent to send this man back to Finland instead of paying for a decade of medication, food, uniforms, and housing. And so they're going to send him back to Finland and let him be Finland's problem. So the guy's going to go home. So it takes 46 days of him sitting in a jail for him to have his day in court. The mom is found. She's a lawyer. She's flown from Finland to Los Angeles via the Finnish consulate. So now this has international intrigue. And so she's there for the young man's day in court. He's there with his lawyer. My lawyer's there. The detective is there. And the judge says to the young man, you are not going to prison. You are going home tomorrow morning at 9:30. That detective sitting behind you on his day off is going to pick you up, reunite with your mom, who's sitting there, and take you to Los Angeles International Airport, throw you into the loving arms of Homeland Security. You'll be put onto an airplane and shot back to Helsinki, where, son, you will get therapy and care and pharmaceutical drugs. Listen very carefully, young man, to what I'm about to tell you. If you darken the doorway of LA County at any time in the next 10 years, we will arrest you as soon as you get off the plane, because we will be flagging every single flight you make, foreign or domestic, for 10 more years of your life. Son, this is a face you never want to see again, because I will send you immediately to prison, which is nothing like the jail you've been prancing about in for the last month and a half. Do you understand? And the young guy apparently said, yes. And the judge said, no, son, I really need you to get this. Pretty cool judge. He did the whole thing a second time, so the young man would not come back and get incarcerated. So the next day, the young man is liberated, thrown into the arms of his mom, taken to the airport, hurled into the arms of Homeland Security, put onto an airplane, sent back to Helsinki, Finland, and to my knowledge, I've never seen him again. In late February of this year, I was in Helsinki, Finland for a show. It was a little tense. It's like security was everywhere, and there was no sight of this young man. So hopefully he's doing the right thing. He's getting better, which is truly what I want. And so for the first few days after he left, I am saddled with paying for a lawyer and a gate and a window and broken stuff. And it's not for me to sit here and complain about paying money. I paid in full, and it sucked. And it's done, and you keep on limping forward. And so I was kind of angry at him for a few days, and then my anger completely evaporated because he's hearing voices in his head. I believe him. And so my concern went from him to the bigger idea of mental illness in our species. And so I'm concerned about him, of course, but my concern for him became dwarfed by a bigger problem of the overall of human complexity and how some people are born with a mind that's not serving them all that well, and it leads them to danger and sometimes endangers other people. And so a lot of those people inform the homeless in your city, and at that time the city I was living in, Los Angeles. And so whenever I think of these USA problems, I bring them onto myself. Like, okay, Henry, you're the king of the United States, you're the king of Los Angeles, homeless in Los Angeles, fix it! And at present, there's like between 55 and 75,000 homeless people in Los Angeles County alone. It's a huge county, but it's not so big you don't notice a whole bunch of people living outside. And they get killed, and they get predated upon by other homeless people, by cops, by people. They get lit on fire, they medicate with alcohol. It's a big mess. What would fix it? Raw capital, tons of money, building houses, putting them in, giving them drugs and supervision, getting them off the street, rehabilitating whoever you can to be back into the workforce, if that's even possible. But what's not happening is care and empathy. And if this country has the temerity to tell other countries what to do, how to comport themselves, they should at least be taking all the homeless people off the streets. If it is, in fact, the greatest country in the world that gave you P-Funk and John Coltrane and the Bad Brains, it should also have a way to deal with homeless people rather than just sweeping them around to other parts of the town when the neighbors complain too much. And so I take the problem upon myself. What are you going to do? Day one, to fix it, I'm going to call the Facebook guy, that weird ex-Twitter guy, he's bizarre, and other rich people are like, hey, I need $40 gajillion dollars to take care of the homeless problem. Click, click, click. None of the gajillionaires would give me $1. And so what's my alternative? To get less people in the United States to take care of fewer people better. So now I am tasked with laundering like 329 million American lives to get us from 330 million down to 1 million. So why a million? I just like that number. So the United States would have 1 million population. So how do I get rid of 329 million people without ending up worst person in the world, the month-long docu-series on History Channel? And I know where your mind is going. I kind of went there too. Carpet bombing NASCAR events would be fun to watch. And after enough carpet bombings, you would see change in the country. However, murder is actually not on my mind. A gentle, scientifically inclined, parts per million attempt to breed more consciously going forward is. And so my idea would be to get the biggest megaphone in the United States and have a word with breeding age Americans. Like, you are not guinea pigs. You are not living in the age of Lincoln, where you had 5 children strategically, knowing you're going to lose 3 before they hit 15 years of age. Your children who live to be 115 years old, what they're putting in the water these days. Stop breeding so much! Have one and then stop! Humans are complex. By the time they're 13, you can't handle them. You can't even handle 1, much less 5. You do not have the bandwidth, the time, or the economic resources to get a young person from 1 to 18. So knock it off. Stop pawing at each other's pudenda, which is Latin for the naughty bits. I learned that in 7th grade. I've never been able to let it go. You've got a Netflix account. Use it! You've got a book in your house, probably the one about the angry car written by Stephen King. Read it! Leave each other alone! Practice having kids. Don't really do it! Because there's too many people in this country, and I don't want anyone murdered. I just want it to gently ease off. So in 300 years, the United States is down to 1 million population. What would the United States look like? Blinding blue sky. Wildlife walking around. Metallica is now a club band. I think it would be different. And the medication for all. But no one listens to me because I'm just a weird old man who looks like a lizard who lives alone in a house, raving at the walls. So when I see a family of 7 at the supermarket, 5 kids and 2 parents, I see an American crisis rolling out in real time. But I want this century to end better than it began. So I want to grab the 5 kids and have a 60 to 90 second power meeting as to how we can make things end better than they are right now. Okay, kids, gather around, gather around. Do you know why there's 5 of you? Because your parents thought if they tried again and again and again and again, they'd finally get 1 kid they actually wanted, which is really, really tough thing for me. Don't cry! It's true. So look, your parents have nothing but contempt for you, and here's why. They wake up every single morning and they see you at the breakfast table with your little mouths open like baby birds, and you want food and water and milk and orange juice and ballet slippers and soccer balls and karate lessons, and they look at your little faces and they realize they have literally screwed themselves into endless credit debt. No more fun for them. They're gonna die starving because of you. So that they have for this monumental. However, I think the contempt should be with you for them. Think about it. How dare these breeders have the temerity to conceive you, to make you float around in a sack of amniotic fluid like some mutant dolphin, to be shot into this porn-addicted capitalist consumerist killing field from sea to not-so-shining sea. So today, we level the playing field. Today, we get justice. You, the youngest one, the oldest one here, take this $20 bill, go into the shopping center, go into the hardware store, go past the rig section, make a left to the automotive section, get a 1-gallon container of antifreeze, take it back to your house. You're gonna pour this into your parents' iced tea for the rest of the summer. Ethylene glycol is an active ingredient. Yes, young man, you're very intuitive. You are going to kill both of your parents. I said no crime! That's not murder. It's justice. And today we get it. Deploy, deploy, deploy. That would work. However, I don't think parents need to be killed. I think they need to plan better. And so, if you have 2 kids and you want 5, what, I get to argue with you? No. Why don't you adopt 3? No. Well, why? Why? Because there's hundreds of thousands of little kids with their noses pressed up against the barbed wire looking for a home. And so that goes into a number of comments like, well, what if little Johnny gets 2 mommies and 2 daddies? Well, what if the love is unconditional? And I had a mommy and a daddy, neither of them wanted me, and that's why I'm here. If I had 2 mommies and 2 daddies who loved me unconditionally, nothing is guaranteed, but I might not be here. I might be well-adjusted. I might be in banking. And so, now that I'm ancient, and I see young people, and I feel somewhat responsible for the hellscape that I have helped create, that they are now staggering through. And so I want to help young people as best I can. I'm not all that helpful, but maybe I can warn them as to what is to come. Maybe I can be a Flavor Flav to their Chuck D, if you want to use the public enemy paradigm, where they're the leader and I'm the hype man on the side going, go young person, go! And so that's what I try to do. I try to encourage young people and literally stay the hell out of their way. When I see them on the sidewalk, I stand aside. It's their sidewalk, I'm just getting lost on it. And unfortunately, for young people, I like to do a few things that young people like to do. Namely, I like to go to punk rock shows. And so I will always be the oldest person at this show. Because when I was a young person, before I was of age to go into a club, Ian Mackay and I used to go to local arenas to see arena rock. It was like 1870 something. And this is what a young underage person could see for like $9.50. And together, we would see the likes of Aerosmith and Van Halen and Ted Nugent before he was talking between songs. It was way different. And I forget what year it was, like 1979, I believe it was. In like one multi-month expanse, we saw Led Zeppelin and The Clash. And it was just like, both were amazing for different reasons. And the Led Zeppelin was utterly monumental. It was really, really cool. But The Clash, in a way, was more meaningful because we went from the 20,000-seater to a theater about this size called the Ontario. It's now a condominium. And you could walk right up to the front and slap your hand down and hit Joe Strummer's foot. He was right there. I mean, the band is right there. And the music is actual. You're no longer a spectator. You're a co-conspirator. And the kick drum is hitting you right there. And we became addicted to going to these shows. This is the thrill of our young lives. And I figured out how to survive through a Ramones show. You want to survive a Ramones show? You stand on the front of the stage right there, right in front of Dee Dee Ramone, because within 5 songs, all of your body moisture has been pressed out of you. It's gone like a sodium cloud out of the top of your head. You now weigh as much as a Dorito chip, and you are dying of a lack of liquid. It's like, I'm dying. And that's when Dee Dee Ramone saves your life, because he sweated profusely. It's like a faucet coming off his chin, and it tasted disgusting. Like a lizard. Thank you, Dee Dee. And whenever the Cramps would come to town, led by the legendary Lux Interior, our heroes, they would come to town, and Ian and I would be right at the front of the stage like the eager students, and Lux would always remember us from the last time. Oh yeah, you two, man. It's like, we love this band. And like one time, like 1979 or 80 or thereabouts, Lux slides up to the front of the stage on his butt. And he's just like, guys, help me off with my pants. No problem. And so we grab his jeans and we pull them off him. They go wrong side out, and we put them right side out and fold them neatly and put them back on the stage because we are those guys. And so after seeing the Bad Brains play at house parties and living rooms, after seeing the first ever Minor Threat show, December 20th and 21st, 1980 at 1926 Cobra Street, I've never recovered from those events. And so I'm the old man who likes to go see young bands play. And well, there's a lot of people my age, they become dismissive. It was better back in my day. Hal, it was great back in your day, and it's great right now too. Independent music is fantastic right now. And so I still go to shows. And so there I am, this ancient man, and I hide from young people. A, I don't want some young whippersnapper to run by me and break my pelvis. And B, I don't want to be in a young person's eye line. I want young people to see young people without this old bastard in the way. So I hide from them. I'm always in a corner watching the band like it's a covert surveillance operation. But young punk rock men are able to find me. And I'm convinced there's an application from the Apple Store. The Find the Aging Punk Rock Coelacanth we thought had perished in the last century, but still somehow draws breath. The Locator app. And you put it on your phone for $1.99, and you hit it and listen for the sounds. Doo, doo, tracking. Doo, doo, locate. And you go through the darkness, and these young men find dude, no way, you're alive. Yeah? Dude, I thought you'd be taller. Okay, I blame the Ritalin. Dude, can we do a photo? Sure, who am I to say no? Dude, don't move, that's easy. Dude, keep living, thanks. This happens 0 to 15 times per show. Like that end of the show goes viral. Ooh! And by the second punk rock man, I'm ready. Yes, I'm short but still alive and ready for the photo. Dude, you're a mind reader. Sure. And it happens over and over and over again. Every few shows or so, a female approaches. And it's kind of the same, but radically different. The female comes drifting out of the shadows. Excuse me, Mr. Rollins. And I always say the same thing, thinking it's going to be funny, and it never is. Did you call me Mr. because I'm old? Yes. I'm like, ow, ow. Like, that never goes my way. Can we do a photo? Who am I to say no, young lady? And so the young woman looks around and finds some ambient light in the venue to highlight cheekbone, jawline, eye, hair, teeth. And it has to be just right. She finds it, like, okay, got it, don't move. Phone, no, it takes about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and she has the look, and she's got the phone, and the photo is half great, half horrible. She informs the great part. As Iggy Pop is wont to say, she looks like 1 million in prizes. I look like some weird old man trying to sabotage a selfie as I wander through the photo. Is this the way to the park? And because she is posing, and instead of posing, I am talking. Did you know this venue was built in 1914? And for the first 37 years of its existence, it was a slaughterhouse, and then a post office, and then in 1978, 2 Hungarian brothers bought it, and it's been a music venue of different names ever since. And that's when the photo gets taken. And so she's like, and I'm like, I said, ma'am, I demand a redo. I look like the proverbial horse's ass. You're not going to get a redo. It took 3 minutes to pose that shot. You should have kept your big fat mouth shut. Of course she's right. Like, I'm the senior on this deck, and I require a redo. So she's multitasking. She's winning the argument with me, and she's pummeling her cell phone with her thumbs. She's putting in some kind of message underneath this photo, which means she's going to text it to someone. Ma'am, are you going to text that to someone? Gone. Forever. It's already gone. Ma'am, who did you send that photo to? My father. Your father? Why? Because he finds out if I met you and can get photographic proof of life. He won't believe me. He thinks you're dead. We all do. About 30 seconds later, a text comes back from Dad. No way! I thought he'd be taller. If only your grandfather was alive to see this. Nice to see you. Thanks. Good night.